What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the numbers, and welcome to Stat Diggers for UFC Vegas. It's 102, right?
I think it's 102.
What did I do?
What?
I put 101.
No, I think it's 102, dude. But you know what? There's been so many of these damn.
Oh, God.
Well, this show's ruined.
God.
We're not live, are we? As long as
No.
we're not live, we can fix this.
I don't think we're live yet.
Oh, good. Thank God.
Oh, God.
'Cause all those idiots that watch us would have known that we had made a mistake.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Okay, I believe I fixed it. Hopefully it shows up. The whole show. We should just end the show here. It'd be the quickest stat diggers in history. See you guys.
Good luck, everybody.
Oh, all right. Anyway, I think we're good now. What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the numbers, and welcome to Stat Diggers for UFC Vegas 102. We have Dontel Mays going against Valter Walker. We are right back here in the Apex. Weezy, what is up? Late night show. Had the Super Bowl today, so wanted to push it back, do it on a Monday, or do it on a Sunday night. I'm actually going to a Cavaliers game tomorrow for some reason, so wanted to do it tonight. And yeah, what is up? You looking forward to it?
Yeah, this is it's an all right card, man. I was looking through it. The Bonfim brothers are on this card. Rodolfo Vieira versus Andre Petroski is a pretty good fight. Jose Delgado's on this card, who's really fun. We got Kattar versus Zalal. Interesting middleweight main event. Yeah, man. I mean, it's not the best on name value, but there's some pretty solid fights on this card. So looking forward to chopping it up after the Super Bowl here. Hope everybody made a ton of money on the Eagles today, because the Chiefs had a rough week.
Yep, they sure did. So yeah, before we get into it, if you guys could do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We go live every Sunday, typically at 7:15, but we had to watch the Super Bowl, so we kicked it back. I do want to shout out the sponsor of the show. That is our guy, Avery Marino. Shout out to Avery Marino for looking like the DH Andy Reid. Oh, geez. Yeah. I figured I'd wear the jersey. You know, I won the jersey at my draft party back in late August, early September. It's a $120 jersey, and I haven't worn it since. So I thought, hey, I'm going to wear the jersey today. I'm going to get some use out of it. And then I also got this hat today at the Super Bowl party. This was my dad's hat, and he gave it to me. So I got a free hat, which is nice. And I also got this Chiefs chain, which is pretty cool. So, and it's hilarious, dude. I posted on Twitter, and I was 1000% joking that I smashed my TV. I was crying. I ruined the party with 30 people. And the amount of people that thought I was being serious was concerning. And people were getting mad at me like somebody told me to kill myself. I'm like, what? He said, kill yourself. I've never gotten a comment that mean. So yeah. But yeah, I could not have cared less who won the Super Bowl, but I was rooting for a good game. But anyway, guys, go follow Avery on Twitter. His Twitter handle is MMA_Avery. Last week, he actually did a contest.
MMA_Very. MMA_ and then VERY.
MMA_Very. Yes, he did a contest. He said, for every like that this gets, I'll place a $10, put $10 on DDP and Zhang Wei Li parlay to win. Anybody who likes will be entered to win half of the profit. So I believe he put a lot on it and it hit. So shout out to Avery. Go check him out. Appreciate you, Avery. All right. Let's do a quick recap of last night. And it was a complete disaster. I'll kick it off. So for me, it was my worst night literally ever. It was my worst night since I've started tracking back in 2019. Everything just went completely wrong, and it all started with the first fight of the card. I was very confident in Quillen Salkild to not only win the fight, but win it by submission, and he goes out there and starches that bum, Anshul Jubilee, in the first 20 seconds of the fight. I thought that he would go for takedowns, he would drag into deep waters, and he would submit Jubilee in the second or third. Yeah, so that didn't happen. But yeah, I love the sub prop, but he sparked him. I think it was one of the very first punches that landed. Then I had the Smasher TV play of the week, and this was probably my worst bet of all time. I kid you not, because I even said it on my tweet. I said that he has a massive grappling advantage, but he's going to go out there and he's going to swing dicks, and he literally did exactly that. I don't get some of these fighters sometimes. Like, what are their coaches saying to these guys? I mean, was the game plan really to go out there and strike for 15 minutes with Rong Zhu? I don't get that. So I lost a half unit on the sub. Again, I think that was my worst bet of all time. And I've made some bad bets, Wheezy. I bet on Sergey Spivak versus Cyril Gahn, which was a very bad bet. But I think betting Cody Steele to fight smart and grapple was even a worse bet than that. So shout out to Cody Steele. Get some help, God. Okay, and then this really hurt me. Alexandre Topuria versus Colby Thickness. I loved violence in this matchup. I thought that, hey, Alexandre Topuria, he's literally getting a handpicked matchup. His team actually handpicked Colby Thickness. And this was, quite frankly, the easiest possible matchup in the bantamweight division. And Alexandre Topuria being so hyped, people saying that he's better than Merab, better than Topuria. He probably should go out there and finish Colby Thickness in the very first round. But that was not the case. It was a very, very slow-paced fight, one of the worst fights of the card. And Topuria actually wins his first fight that has left the first round. So lost 2 units on the under. Like I said, I thought he should probably run through Thickness. And if not, I thought he would gas out. But he did not gas out because you can't gas out if you don't do anything. So shout out to Topuria for not doing anything. You didn't gas out, and you were able to win even the third round. So, and people were impressed with his performance. I mean, I don't know. People were sucking his dick. I don't know. The first round was very competitive until he landed that big shot. I actually scored the second round for Thickness just based off of activity. And then Thickness kind of landed on his back for the third round. If this guy is going to be a future champ, which people are saying, you probably should finish Thickness in the first round. Like, this is probably the worst bantamweight on the roster. And he's not even on the roster. I think he only got a 1-fight contract. So I was not personally impressed with that performance, but Topuria got a win at the end of the day. What else? So this one hurt as well. I loved violence as well in the Crute-Pilato fight. I loved Jimmy Crute in the matchup. I loved him as an underdog. I thought he was very live to win the fight. He goes out there and proceeds to beat the living breaks off of Pilato in the first round, putting him into a ton of bad positions, getting in a couple close submission attempts, and then drops him brutally towards the end of the first round. And if it was the ref that was reffing the Salkid Jubilee fight, that fight would have been stopped because Pilato landed very awkwardly, and the fight was so close to being stopped. I thought Crute just had to push a little bit harder. But yeah, if Crute finishes that fight in the first round, I hit Crute inside the distance at plus 400. I hit the fight won't start round 3 that I liked as well. So that was a big swing fight. I hit Teixeira Tafa under 1.5 rounds. That was the only hit of the night. And then I ended it with violence in the co-main, and Zhang Weili got me again. I think I have a sick, dirty fetish for losing money on Zhang Weili violence. I lost money on her. The fight doesn't go to decision. The Amanda Lemos fight where she beat the brakes off of her for the full 25. I lost on Zhang Weili inside the distance against Yan Xiaonan where she finished her twice, but Herzog didn't stop the fight. And then I lost on violence here. I had Suarez sub, and then I had Zhang Weili 3-4-5. And round 3, she hits Suarez very hard, and Suarez does the stanky leg. In round 4, she gets a very tight head and arm choke. Couldn't get off to the side and finish it, though. And then in round 5, just starts pounding on her. Not really close to getting a finish, though. So I didn't hate those Zhang Weili late sprinkles. I think those were good reads, but again, didn't come through. So yeah, my worst night since I started tracking, down 8 units. I needed violence in the Topuria fight. Topuria wins the decision. I was not expecting that. I needed violence in the Crute fight. The Crute fight, the draw, I was not expecting that. And then I needed violence in the co-main event. The fight goes to decision once again. So rough night. The picks weren't awful. Could have been better, but weren't completely awful. But the bets, the props, the reads weren't the best. Wheezy, you did better than me. So how'd your night go?
Yeah, I did better than you, but I still got piped, Brady. I got piped, but good. Down 4.86 units. I lost 2 units on Borshov's money line. Tom Nolan looked incredible. He made some major improvements, and he's one of those guys that's got the natural size and the length that you can't teach that. And when you're 6'3" with that kind of length in the lightweight division, if you begin to put your MMA skill set together, you could be a very dangerous fighter. And he showed that, man. When he was getting takedowns, he was using those long ass arms of his to lock up chokes while Slava was getting back to his feet. And he looked really good doing that, made Slava defend those. And he definitely did a good job on the feet as well, because he's not as good of a striker as Slava is, but he used his size really well. He landed some nice kicks, and he was able to stand up to the shots that he absorbed. So Borshaw was a big part of my plans to make money this week, but that did not pan out. Like you, I was on Crute inside the distance. I was on the Crute violence play. The fight doesn't start round 3. So Crute coming that close to the knockout at the end of the first round. If he gets that knockout, it's an up night for me. But it's just the bounces. They don't go your way sometimes, and that was one of them. Crute was really close. And I don't know, do you think Bellato won the second and the third there? I kind of felt like maybe Crute should have got the nod in the fight, period.
To be honest, I really stopped caring once my bet was done. But I don't know. I thought round 2 and 3 were both really close.
Yeah. I thought maybe Crute should have gotten the decision there, but it was a close enough fight and a good performance by Bellato. I had some money on the under 1.5 rounds for Tafa Teixeira. That hit. I had a parlay where I had fight goes to decision for Gisette versus Mikhailov. That hit. The other leg was fight doesn't start round 3 for Crute, and then also, Crute inside the distance. I had Crute by submission for a quarter unit at plus 1,500. I had Jack Jenkins as my dog pick of the week. I had his decision prop at plus 350, and that's 1-1 going into the third, and then he got piped, Brady, and then I got piped. So it was a rough one, down 4.86 units. I wasn't happy. I told you, like, before the fight started, I'm like, man, my fight picks, I don't know about my fight picks this week. It just felt like a really weird week, and I was going to add some bets at the last minute. Didn't do that, and I'm glad I didn't, because I didn't see a lot of those outcomes coming. I didn't see a one-punch knockout for Quillen Saul killed right away in the first round. I didn't see Teixeira getting a brutal KO over Tafa like that early in the fight. That was pretty wild. And I almost got to a Zhang Wei Li bet, but I was hearing injury whispers, and I thought maybe that's why the line was moving so much in favor of Suarez. So I didn't pull the trigger on that. But yeah, got to bounce back this week, man. This is 2 bad weeks in a row. Got to really put an end to the suffering here. Get an up week, and it starts with the research that we do for this card on this show.
Why do people do that? Like, why do people start injury rumors every single week? It seems like it's annoying.
Yeah, I know, man. And everybody seems to hear them, and then it just becomes a part of the conversation, and then you've got to bring that into your capping. Oh, well, are they injured? Are they not injured? They're wearing a brace, this or that. It makes it tricky, and it's already tricky enough betting on MMA.
Yeah. So it seems like every pay-per-view somebody has staph, somebody's injured, blah blah blah. It's annoying, but sometimes they're right. Like Sean Strickland, it looked awful. Now I think that's the worst we've ever seen Sean Strickland look. So that was legit. But Zhang Wei Li, I don't believe she was injured. Oh boy,
no, she sure didn't look like it. She looked phenomenal.
Yeah, she looked phenomenal for sure. But okay, guys, we're not going to try to stay up too late. It is already 11:30 my time, and I got up at like 8:30 this morning. So we're going to kind of roll through this. I do want to shout out the chat. Shout out to Daz saying, "Go, Daz! I thought you were on the Eagles." I think he's being sarcastic. What's up, fella? Yeah, a lot of people hate the Chiefs. A lot of people do not like those Chiefs. I don't really care for football. I'm glad it's over. You know what? Screw football. Screw football. Taking our views, costing me money week after week. It's just not. It doesn't hit the same. My fantasy football team, a bunch of bums getting hurt every week. I heard Brady was in the emergency room last night after he punched a hole in his TV and accidentally cut one of his veins in his wrist. Jeez. Hopefully he's okay. Oh, he's good now. I'm good now. We got Ted in the building. What is up, Ted? Giuseppe couldn't even choke his own chicken. Oh boy.
Yikes.
What else we got? We got our guy Avery in the building. We got Forrest in the building as well. Saying smash the like button. We got UFC picks and balances. What is up, Charles? What is up, Marcel? What is up? Dressed like Andy Reid. Yeah, gotta rep the Chiefs, man. Gotta rep the team that played like absolute dog shit. Chiefs went out there and pulled a Cody Steele. Brady, get some help. I do need it. Hopefully, I will get some in the very near future. We got Casey in the building. What is up? The Hi Al. Good to see you, everybody. All right, we got Big Steve's biggest fan in the building. What is up, Big Steve's biggest fan? All right, I say we get into it here, and we're going to start with the first fight of the card. We got Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Is it Cavalcanti or Cavalcanti?
Cavalcanti, I think, yeah. If you're saying it the Portuguese way.
All right, going against Julie. There, by the way, there were some weird pronunciations last night. I don't know if John Anik was trolling us or what, but Wong Tong, are you serious?
That's correct. That's correct. Yes.
I don't buy it. I know it's probably I don't buy it. I don't buy it personally. And then he was saying another one. He said Slava Borshov. He was like Borshov, and they kept saying it. It was pissing me off. Borshov, isn't it Borshev?
I say it Borshev, but dude, I mean, Anik knows. Like he asks the fighters, so he says it the way that they say it, and yeah, he's the gold standard for pronunciation. Brady, I'm number 2. I'm a distant second. My pronunciation is almost as good as Anik's.
No, I agree, and everybody knows that. So, do you think maybe he wants to trick us one of these days and call him Borshov?
Yeah, dude, that's the kind of shit I would do.
Yeah,
exactly. I really would. I would start, being like, I Horpaterier, and say like, yeah, that's actually how you say it, in Ukrainian. No way, that's not. Nobody says it like that. I only say it like that. It's not Claudio Puelli's either. It's Puelis, but I don't know. I like to intentionally butcher pronunciations every once in a while. It's part of my vernacular. It's part of who makes Uncle Wheezy who he is.
Yeah, but
maybe he is. Maybe Anik's doing that.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, Wong Tong. I don't buy it. But that's just me personally. People can have their own opinions. But anyway, Jacqueline Cavalcanti going against Julia Avila. We got Jacqueline Cavalcanti, 27 years old, 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. Avila, 36 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. Cavalcanti is going to be 9 years younger. She's going to have a 2-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. Julia Avila is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. A decision win against Kanzad, knockout win against Gina Mazzani, decision loss to CR Eubanks, submission win against Julia Stoliarenko, and then a sub loss to Misha Tate. As far as Cavalcanti, she is 5-0 in her last 5 fights, a decision win against Zara Farron, a decision win against Josiane Nunez, and then a decision win against Nora Cornhole. So, yeah, I think Cavalcanti is actually the biggest favorite on the card. I personally think that she is pretty overrated. We went to a close split decision with Nora Cornhole, close split decision with Josiane Nunez, and she beat Zara Farron, which was whatever, but she should go out there and win this fight. I'm not sure what Julia Avila is doing. I could have sworn she retired. She fought, how long ago was that Tate fight? It had to have been at least almost 2 years ago, right?
It's about a year and a month ago. About
really?
a year and 2 months. Yeah,
only a year and 2 months. That fight feels like it was so long ago, but yeah, this should be Cavalcanti. Avila won't be able to take her down. I think these two are going to strike, and Cavalcanti is just the better striker. Simple as that. So Cavalcanti probably by decision, but I do not have interest in laying the -500 on the biggest favorite on the card for UFC Vegas 102. Wheezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
How much did you say?
-500.
Woo! 83.3% implied probability, huh? For somebody that's winning on some pretty thin margins. I mean, Avila's 36 years old, Brady. And I think the reason you thought the Tate fight was so long ago is because I think she had something like 2 or 3 years off between the Stoliarenko and Tate fights. So she just hasn't been fighting. She was pregnant. She recently had a baby before the Tate fight. So, it's hard to know how serious Avila is taking the training. And I can remember from the Tate fight, right? people were worried about Tate being on her way out, right? And Avila posted a picture on Instagram or X or something like that where she was saying, you know, it's hard not to get better in the gym when you're training with killers. And she had a picture with like 3 soccer mom white belts. And like people were really giving it to her on after posting that picture, like, oh my God, these aren't even fighters. They're like, you know, moms in a judo class or something. So yeah, I think that's why Cavalcanti is such a big favorite here. But she is the better striker. You know, she's gonna win the striking here. 74% distance striking defense over like a 40-minute sample size at range in the UFC. So that's really technically sound, very defensively responsible. She throws her punches straight. She stays fairly active for the division, and she's got good minute winning skills on the feet. 5-1 to the decision as a pro. Avila's 3-1 to the decision, but Avila's more of like a mauler, you know, kind of just like goes forward and looks to kill you. She's very aggressive. But I think Cavalcanti's got really good footwork. She should be able to kind of, you know, circle the cage, keep length, and win the minutes at range. We'll see what Avila has left in the tank here, but I think this is one of those fights where you actually kind of have to pay attention to the social media, maybe pay attention to the interviews and see what is going on in the life of Julia Avila, because we know what's going on with Cavalcanti. She's been over the last year and a half fighting regularly. She's been coming in as favorites. She's been winning those fights. It's a split decision versus Nunez, but it's not really a split decision. The fight really wasn't even close. But Ron McCarthy was one of the judges. So, you know, I don't think, you know, like you tell him like the blue corner and the red corner, you know, that dude could fuck up a cup of coffee. So I think that Cavalcanti by decision is probably the most likely path here.
Yep. Yep. I have zero interest in this fight. This fight's gonna probably suck. The over under set at 2.5, the over 2.5 minus 420, the under 2.5 is plus 320. So yeah, they're thinking Cavalcanti. They're thinking Cavalcanti by decision as well. We got the Golden Octagon in the building. What is up? Our guys saying good evening, Brady, Weezy, and chat. It's a pleasant surprise to catch you all live tonight. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Good to see Matt hanging out in here, man. That's one of the good guys from the space.
He's a nice guy. He's
Absolutely.
a nice guy. Can we get a Hall of Fame of bad heavyweight and women's fights? We're going to talk about a very bad, very bad heavyweight fight coming up very, very shortly. That might go. Oh, we're talking about it right now.
Segue. That's a segue, ladies and gentlemen.
Great segue. It's a great segue because this could be the worst heavyweight fight of all time, and we've had some terrible heavyweight fights. But it's Valter Walker going against our guy Dontel Mays. We got Valter Walker, 27 years old, 6'6" with an 81-inch reach. Dontel Mays, 33 years old, 6'6" with an 81-inch reach. We got Valter Walker, 6 years younger, same height, same reach between the two. Valter Walker is 4-1 in his last 5 fights, made his debut against Lucas Bresky, lost that fight by close decision, and then submitted Junior Tafa in the very first round. As far as Dontel Mays, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. A decision loss to Augusto Sakai, a knockout win against Andre Arlovsky, a decision loss to Rodrigo Nascimento, a decision win against Kyle Machado, and then a decision loss against Shamil Gaziev. So, yeah, I taped this fight actually a couple days ago, and I looked at the line, and it was like Valter Walker, like minus 145, and I'm not betting on this fight. You know, I need to really tighten it up this week. You know, didn't have a great week last week, and I need to tighten it up this week, and I would be shocked if I laid any money on these first 2 fights, and I'm not. But, yeah, I thought, you know, the minus 145 makes sense. You know, Valter Walker, slight favorite. He has absolutely no striking at all. I think the cardio is very, very suspect, but what Valter Walker can do is he can wrestle. He can get fights down to the ground. And I went back and watched Mays, and I have seen Mays stuck on his back against Shamil Gaziev, which there's not, you don't really like to see that, but it happened. Not the worst thing in the world. Also got stuck on his back against Sakai at one point. Got stuck on his back against Hamdi Abdelwahab at one point in that fight as well. So, yeah, once Dontel Mays gets taken down, kind of struggles to get back up. So I'm kind of thinking it's going to be, you know, Valter Walker getting takedowns, just kind of laying on top. But when this fight is on the feet, it's one-way traffic, even though I don't think Dontel Mays is that great. It's just Valter Walker literally just doesn't have much of anything on the feet at all. So I think this fight could end up being greasy. I think it's probably going to even go the distance. It's actually favored to go over, which we don't typically see in many heavyweight fights. But yeah, I think it goes to decision. I think it's greasy. I lean Valter Walker to wrestle his way to like a 29-28. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this absolute mess of a fight?
Yeah, I think people are going to be thinking their TV's broken when they're watching these two guys fight because it's going to be looking like they're at half speed, you know? Yeah. I mean, this is what it would look like if like you started a heavyweight boxing league and made each dude drink like an entire bottle of cough syrup before going out there to fight. Valter Walker's nickname is the Clean Monster. The Clean Monster. Now, I don't even know what the fuck that means. But, you know, I mean, it's funny, though, because when I see him fight, I think that this guy's got the athletic ability of Frankenstein. You know, I mean, he kind of moves like him, too, you know, like with the arms out and like he looks super robotic and slow. And then there's Mays, who looks like, yeah, I mean, this guy's like molasses in January. This is going to be such a fun fight. Going to be in slow motion. I mean, these are the two slowest human beings I have ever seen that we could simultaneously and accurately describe as professional athletes. You know, you just don't see it every day. Walker's probably going to try to get takedowns. Mays, who has 43% takedown defense, is probably going to yield them. And then Mays is probably going to have problems getting back to his feet. So, and, you know, and Mays does have some power, Brady. You know, like if this dude hits you clean, you're probably going to go down. So, I could see maybe Walker having a little bit of success on top. I could see maybe Mays getting a knockout. I mean, like maybe one of these guys gets a finish, but dude, minus 210 on Valter Walker. Minus 210? Is that where we're at right now? Is that what happened?
That's what happened.
That's what happened.
He's pouring in on him.
We're there now, and I'm not on mushrooms. Valter Walker is a minus 210 favorite in the UFC right now.
Right now.
That's happening now.
That's right now.
Dude.
Right now.
I mean, I almost feel like I have to bet Mays because
what?
Yes. There's a couple of reasons. A, he's a plus 180 underdog against Valter Walker, a dude who moves and looks like Frankenstein. All right. Second of all, if Mays loses to this bum, the comedic possibilities for next week's Stat Diggers could be absolutely legendary. And Mays is the better striker, Brady. Mays has more professional experience. Mays has more UFC experience. And Mays has the strength of schedule advantage. Dude. Should I do it?
No.
I should, right? I should. No, I mean, because this is still February 9th in the year 2025, right, Brady?
Yeah.
2025, February 9th. We got Valter Walker, indistinguishable.
Wait,
from
Weezy.
A monster that was manufactured in the 70s by a German doctor.
Wait, Weezy, we got Narco in the building. Narco is a very sharp guy. What is up, Narco? Yeah, I didn't have a great Super Bowl either, as you can tell with the apparel. Narco, should Weezy bet on Dontel Mays? Let's ask Narco.
Yeah, so, Narco knows. I mean, like, dude, I think I should, right? I mean, Nick
Narco.
Rodriguez says I shouldn't. MMA hedge fund says not to do it.
Should we make a poll?
We got to make a poll. We've got to ask. I mean, should Uncle Weezy bet on Dante O'Mays? How much worse of a bet could I possibly make?
All right.
Does he really go out there and get rinsed by Valter Walker? Is he going to get heel hooked? I mean, he did get heel hooked by Cyril Gane, though. So maybe he gets heel hooked.
Cyril Gane?
Cyril Gane heel hooked Dante O'Mays.
Oh, boy.
Yes, that happened in the third round.
Should Uncle Weezy bet on Don Tail Mays?
And Avery is saying that I'm inhaling the paint fumes that were in the Saudi Arabian lockers.
Oh. Narco says, I'd rather take a... Ouch! That would hurt. I think I'd rather bet on Mays than take a taser to the balls. Oh. And Narco, I believe, used to be a police officer, so he knows about those tasers.
He knows about them, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, he used to work in the neighborhood that I live in now, man.
Oh,
he
boy.
said it was rough when he worked it. Man.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. It's not rough anymore, by the way.
Oh, good. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, boy. So, yeah, so far, and everybody needs to get in here and vote. If you're on Twitter, come in onto YouTube and vote. This is serious. So should Uncle Weezy bet on Dante Mays? 51% say yes. 49% say no. It is super close.
In a landslide, they've got me voting for Dante O'Mays. I might have to do it. We'll leave that poll up and we'll see what people say. But
we'll leave it up for the next breakdown. Oh, the chat's blowing up for this fight. Oh boy. Don't do it, Weezy. You shouldn't, Weezy. Nick had the Eagles money line. There you go. Let's see. You shouldn't. He's gonna make Valter look like Khabib.
Yeah, he might, dude. He might.
Dante Mays lock of the week. Walker will win. Wait to get it live. Justin saying bet Mays.
There we go.
If it was plus 300, it becomes more interesting. Please, Weezy, no. Maybe on fight night. You're welcome.
I mean, he couldn't even out wrestle Lucas Dresky, you guys. He lost to that guy.
Yeah, he did.
I think Mays actually beats Dresky.
Maybe.
Well, maybe not. I don't
know either. I don't know. There's 0% chance I'm betting this trash fight. It's terrible, dude. It's horrible. All right, so we'll do the next breakdown, and then we'll end the results, and then we'll see if you are indeed betting Dante Mays or not. So
right.
Let's see if the next fight is decent. Okay, yeah, this fight should be fun. We got Vince Morales going against Elijah Smith. We got Vince Morales, 34 years old, 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. Elijah Smith, 22 years old, 5'9" with a 71-inch reach. Elijah Smith going to be 12 years younger, same height, and Smith's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. Vince Morales is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He had a stint in the UFC, didn't go that well, got cut. He did come back, and he lost to Taylor Lapilus by decision in his last fight. As far as Elijah Smith, he beat Aaron Tao on the Contender Series by decision. And yeah, quite frankly, I was kind of surprised that Dana gave him a contract. And I do think that, this guy, Smith, has some, potential upside in the future, but he's still very young, 22 years old. Might have even been 21 years old at the time he fought Tao. But in that fight, he looked pretty good early on. He was able to get some takedowns, control time. The striking looked pretty solid as well. But he did really start to tire out as the fight went on. And Aaron Tao ended up winning that third round. Was a pretty clear 29-28. But it wasn't that impressive a performance in my opinion. So yeah, I thought, Dana might maybe bring him on another show or give him some time, but they brought him in here. So yeah, Smith, 22 years old. I still think he's a little bit green, but I think the upside's there potentially. So yeah, oh gosh, Elijah Smith minus 240, Vince Morales plus 205. That's kind of interesting because that Tao fight it was competitive at moments. Wheezy, what are your thoughts on this fight here?
Yeah, I mean, Vince Morales is 34 years old now, but he's got a ton of experience. He's been around forever. 16-8 as a pro, but he's 3-6 in the UFC. He put together a really nice winning streak on the regional scene after getting cut from the UFC. And then the UFC called him up and they're like, "Hey, you want a contract?" He's like, "Yeah." And they're like, "You want to fight Taylor Lapalus in France?" And it's like, God damn it. All right, how many fights is the contract? And they gave him more than one, so he agreed to take that fight. Bad fight to take. Lapalus is really good takedown defense, really good minute winner on the feet, and he lost the decision. A pretty predictable result, especially in Paris, France, on short notice. So, but he's back now. And you know what we saw from Morales on the regional scene in between UFC performances was some grappling, Brady, because the guy was a former state champion wrestler, I think in the state of Idaho, if I'm not mistaken. So the guy can wrestle, but we never really saw him doing that. He's averaging 0.4 takedowns per 15 minutes in his UFC career, and that's 9 fights in almost 2 hours in the cage. So we never really saw him do that, but he started getting some submissions. He submitted Hunter Azure. He submitted Luis Guerrero with some Darce chokes, I think Anaconda type things. So we started to see him kind of round out his game a little bit in between UFC stints here. So Smith is only 22 years old. His pro career, it looks like he probably turned pro right before his 20th birthday. He's the son of former UFC and IFL fighter Gilbert Smith. Gilbert Smith was in the Tough House a couple of different times. Just a dude who's built like really built like a fire hydrant. And Gilbert used to wrestle a lot. So Elijah's from a fighting family. And yeah, he's young. He's green. There's, 4 knockouts, 1 submission win, 2 decision wins. So he's getting it done in a variety of ways, but he's a prospect. And Vince Morales is a lot more experienced than him. He's fought the much better brand of competition than him. And it's going to be interesting because this kid's 12 years younger than Vince. So, you get those kind of age gaps, and it's interesting because, you've got the experience versus the youth, and these guys are Vince is still fighting at a fairly high level. So I think that he could be a potential good dog pick this week. I got to look way more into this fight. I watched Elijah Smith's last 2 fights before the show today, and that Aaron Tao fight was a lot of fun. That Tao guy kept coming forward, took everything that Smith gave him, and just wouldn't fuck off. It was a really fun fight.
Yeah, I mean, what could go wrong laying minus 240 on a 22-year-old Contender Series guy?
Yeah, nothing almost, right? That almost every time that goes well for you. Yeah, so
I mean, Cody Steele is on the Contender Series, right?
Yes, he was. But he was actually the older fighter against Rong Zhu, who is 24 years old.
Well, he says he's 24.
Yeah, I know. He turned pro at the age of 15.
He says he's 24. He's not 24. Come on. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, this line's silly to me. I don't get this line at all. I think it's a very competitive fight, and I'm not even a big fan of Morales's game. This is a guy that is very low volume in there, but I don't know. Maybe it looked like he flipped the switch after he got cut. Like now he's going out there and finishing dudes. He's showing urgency. He's showing submission grappling. So yeah, I feel like this could at the very least be a very, very competitive fight. Like Morales is well-rounded, like you said, wrestling background, solid BJJ, good striking, and Smith just has a lot to prove, a lot of room to grow as well. So it could be too soon for Smith. I still think he has a long way to go. That Tao fight wasn't that impressive to me. So yeah, I think I think Morales is a live dog at plus 205. I can't believe that line, but money's pouring in on Smith, so we'll see. Smith opened at minus 145, which seems a lot more reasonable to me. He's now minus 240. Morales opened at plus 125, currently plus 205. Over under sit at 2.5 G's. The over 2.5 is minus 300. The under 2.5 is plus 240. So they are expecting this to go the distance.
Yeah, very interesting because, like you had mentioned, Morale is getting a lot of finishes on the regional scene against a similar level of competition as Elijah Smith. So that could be a little bit of value there as well. But I got to look more into it because I still haven't watched Morales' most recent fight against Lapalus, and I want to rewatch some of those regional scene performances. Because Hunter Azure on the regional scene, that's a pretty good win.
That's a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's good to see Morales back. And this is a great test for Smith because he's still only 22 years old. He's got his whole career ahead of him. But if he can go out there and get a win against a guy who's got 24 professional fights and who has 9 fights at the UFC level and some good wins on the regional scene, this would be a good first step for Elijah Smith if he got this one.
Yeah, absolutely. Friends don't let DGens bet on Dontel Mays. Morales is a live underdog. Vince will be a good bet if it gets any wider. Maybe it gets wider. Maybe Smith has some hype on him. And yeah, what could go wrong? Laying minus 240 on the newcomer making his debut. Nothing could go wrong. What could go wrong on Uncle Weezy betting on the Dontel Mays fight? A lot. So Weezy, the results have ended. I just ended the poll, and here are the final results. Should Uncle Weezy bet on Dontel Mays? Yes, 52%, and no, 47%, which I'm not the best at math, but that it should equal 100.
Yeah, they're probably rounding up somewhere with a fraction of a percent, but yeah, 52%. So people say I should be betting on Dontel Mays. Am I still getting plus 180?
Let's take a peek. Refresh it. You are getting 180.
180, huh?
Which is the best line out there by a mile. It's like plus 150s, plus 146. I see. So you are getting the best line at the.
It'll be the best of the losing lines after. Yeah, dude. You know what? Actually, it's kind of crazy because like right now it says he's minus 175 on BetMGM, Valter Walker. So like that's actually like a little bit of a crossed line. Somebody must have really dumped a ton of money on Walker after the limits went up.
You got to have some balls to put really any money on that fight, let alone a whole dump of it.
Yeah, because he went from minus 145 a day ago to minus 210. I'm still struggling with that math.
Dude, Remdog said next thing you know, people are going to tell you about Dylan Bucka. We're going to do we'll do a Dylan Bucka poll. Don't worry.
Yes.
We'll just have Weezy place the worst bets this week. Dylan Budka, Dontel Mays, Julia Avila. What could go wrong? What could go wrong? No, but I don't know, dude. Plus 180.
See, but we're not hearing from the 52% who are like, this is a great bet, so.
Oh, Mays Budka parlay. Oh.
Let's go. Let's see what that comes out to on Bet Online right now. We got Mays and Budka at the low price of plus 275. You parlay that, you get 950. And let me tell you something, Brady. Dylan Budka has a path to victory.
He does. He does have a path to victory. And we'll talk about it. But, geez, this card. All right. Let's move on to a good fight. We got Gabriel Bonfim going against Khaos Williams. We got Bonfim, 27 years old, 6'1", with a 72-inch reach. Khaos Williams, 30 years old, 6 foot, with a 77-inch reach. We got Bonfim, 3 years younger, 1-inch height advantage, and it's going to be Williams with a 5-inch reach advantage. Bonfim 4-1 in his last 5 fights, a submission win against Trey Waters, submission win against Munir Lazez, a submission win against Trevin Giles, a knockout loss to Nicholas Dalby, and then a decision win against Angelosa. As far as Khaos Williams, he's 4-1 in his last 5 fights, a decision win against Matt Semmelsberger, a knockout win against Miguel Baeza, a decision loss to Randy Brown, decision win against Rolando Bedoya, and then a knockout win against Carlston Harris. So, yeah, this should be a fun fight, a very fun fight, because both these guys are very fun fighters. Both these guys are finishers with a ton of power. And, yeah, I like the game of Bonfim. I know he got broken and finished by Dalby, and I know that he actually went to decision for the first time against Angelosa, but I think that's good for him. Going the full 15 for the first time, I think that's good, and he looked good over the course of 3 rounds in that fight. But yeah, Gabriel Bonfim, I think is striking solid. He has a ton of power, and he has a very, very, very opportunistic submission game. What he'll do in a lot of his fights is he's going to hurt you on the feet, and then he's going to make you shoot in. And if you shoot in, you're going to get your neck snatched up. It happened against Trevin Giles, happened against Munir Lazez. He's a very tight squeeze on him. So yeah, I think Gabriel Bonfim is a very good fighter, but Khaos Williams is no joke in his own right. Khaos Williams has a ton of power. I think this fight's an absolute banger, and I'm actually shocked it's so far down on the card towards like the Dontel Mays Avila fights, because this should be on the main card easily, right? Like, this fight's incredible.
Yeah, I'd be kind of surprised if this didn't wind up on the main card. This is a very high level fight. I mean, Khaos Williams, 8 UFC fights, he's only lost 2 of them, and I think they're both split decisions. So he's been in there against some really good guys, ton of power, ton of durability, really good takedown defense. And he stays busy at range too. So he's kind of hittable, but he's extremely durable. Short notice for him. Who was Bonfim supposed to fight? I forget who, but actually, I think I got it right here. Bonfim was supposed to fight Renat Fakhretdinov. So he was training for a wrestler. Now he's getting a guy with just nuclear power in his hands who's not going to wrestle at all. So this is a tough matchup for Bonfim, man. Khaos Williams, and I'm looking at the line, and I'm like, how many fighters would I price minus 200 against Khaos Williams? I mean, you look at that resume on the guy. He's fought a really good level of competition here. You go through the names. Carlston Harris, the Bedoya fight was close, but he won that one. Randy Brown, very good fighter. He got Baeza in 2021 when he was still looking really good. Matt Semmelsberger in 2021 when he was looking good. He lost a very close decision to Michel Pereira. He starches Abdul Razak Al Hassan. I think besides Almeida now, the only guy to knock him out. And then Khaos Williams just destroyed Alex Morono in 27 seconds. So, yeah, I think people forget because he knocked out the first 2 guys, and then he went to decision with a bunch of people that how much power this dude has. And then Bonfim, if this guy attempts a submission against you, your day is probably over. He's just got extremely opportunistic BJJ and very good striking as well. So this is a very high-level fight, in my opinion.
Yeah, what is Khaos Williams' striking defense at distance?
It is 45.5%.
Yeah, that's not great. It's not great.
But he still lands more significant strikes at range than he absorbs because he throws 5.6 more attempts per minute at range than his opponents do. So Khaos stays very busy. He's easy to hit, but he's not easy to knock down. He's never been knocked down in 8 UFC fights. He's never been knocked out in his career, and he's landed 5 knockdowns in 8 UFC fights, and he's 8-0 to the knockout in his career, while Bonfim is 3-1 to the knockout in his career. So I think that Khaos might be the guy with more power here, and he's definitely, in my opinion, the guy who's fought the better brand of competition for a longer period of time.
Yep, for sure. I think the grappling is going to be interesting. We're going to see potentially what Khaos's grappling's like, because I don't recall him grappling much at all in the UFC. I know Pereira took him down a couple times. Outside of that, that's it, right? I mean, I don't think anybody's tested his grappling yet.
Yeah, I think he's faced, if my math is correct, 10 takedown attempts in 8 fights. So people aren't trying to grapple him much. So he might see a lot more grappling here from Bonfim, but Bonfim isn't exactly like a chain wrestler. He's got a ton of submissions, but it's not because he's the one attempting takedowns. It's exactly what Brady said, where he hurts you on the feet, he makes you panic wrestle, and then you wind up in a guillotine.
Yeah, he did wrestle in the Dalby fight, but he gassed out. So
yeah, Dalby will do that to you, man. Dalby makes you work.
yeah, it's an interesting fight because I think that's a great point. Like Bonfim's this big finisher, but Williams has never been finished.
It's a tough matchup for him, man.
So Bonfim opened up minus 210. He's currently minus 220. Khaos Williams opened up plus 180, currently plus 185. And yeah, the total's interesting. The over-under set at 1.5. The over 1.5 minus 144. The under 1.5 is plus 114. I don't have a strong read on this total because both guys are just so dangerous. But yeah, Khaos has never been finished. It's tough.
Yeah, and Bonfim finished in his only loss, so it's hard to know what kind of durability he has, because you're 16-1, and then who finishes you? Nick Dalby, a guy who's finished nobody in the UFC. The guy's a complete decisionator, but Dalby's a guy who wins minutes and wears on you and breaks people, but he broke Bonfim just by being there. So Khaos is not a guy that you're going to be out there breaking in half. That's for sure. He breaks you, not the other way around. So, yeah, it's a very interesting stylistic fight because I think Khaos is the guy who's really got that dog in him.
Yep. He did gas against Dalby, went to decision. Yeah, that was weird. He went to decision in Colorado elevation. It looked completely fine in his next fight against Angelusa.
Yeah, Angelusa doesn't do shit, though.
Yeah, he didn't do nothing in that fight. But Bonfim proved his last fight he can win in decisions. Yeah, like I said, I think that was good for him to go the full 15. Khaos is in trouble in round 1. Don't kid yourself, but if it doesn't happen, you do not want to be holding a Bonfim ticket at minus 2xx. I don't really want to hold a minus 2xx ticket in general, but I will be picking Bonfim to win. I'm just not sure how he wins because I can see him winning by any method. I could see maybe a club and sub, a decision. Maybe he is the first one to knock out Khaos. So I'm picking to win. I'm just not sure how yet. He went to decision against Angelusa, who gasses just as hard. Yeah, Angelusa was actually more tired than Bonfim, which is kind of crazy. We got Yes Freak, Scottsdale, Arizona treadmill team in here. Hey, yeah, watching and listening to podcasts on the treadmill is underrated. I'll tell you that. Isn't knocking anyone out. Okay, it could be a sub then. A lot of his finishes are club and subs. Like I think the majority of them are club and subs. So he has power. He certainly has power, but he likes to snatch up that neck. All right, we'll move on to the next fight. This is a great fight here. We got Rafael Estevam going against Jesus Aguilar. We got Estevam, 28 years old, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. Aguilar, 28 years old, 5'4" with a 62-inch reach. We got the same age there. Estevam, 4 years older. Estevam with a 7-inch reach advantage. Estevam's 5-0 in his last 5 fights, had a knockout win on the Contender Series, and then won a close fight against Charles Johnson, a win that is aging very, very well. As far as Jesus Aguilar, 4-1 in his last 5 fights, a submission loss against Tatsura Taira in the first round, a knockout win against Shannon Ross, a split decision against Mateus Mendonça, and then a submission win against Stuart Nichols. So, yeah, I love this fight. Went and watched all the tape on Rafael Estevam, and I was really, really impressed with the guy. Didn't look amazing in the Charles Johnson fight, kind of really slowed down as the fight went on, but on the Contender Series fight was able to get takedowns. He has some very vicious ground and pound. He is really mean on the ground, has some good ground and pound as well. And yeah, he's able to take guys down and just beat the brakes off of them and finish him in the majority of his wins. And he's going against Jesus Aguilar. And this is a very weird fight for me because Estevam's a big favorite. And like I said, I think this guy's good. I think this guy's really good. But Aguilar is good at really one thing, and it's that guillotine. He has one of the best guillotines I think I've seen. If he gets you in that guillotine, you are going to sleep more often than not. He even got Tatsura Taira in the guillotine, and it was very tight, and Taira was able to get out, but that was very sketchy. And he was actually in that guillotine for a couple minutes. So yeah, Jesus Aguilar, if he gets on your neck, you will be going to sleep more often than not. And Estevam has put himself into bad spots at times, and Estevam is probably going to grapple here. So I think Jesus Aguilar is literally submission or bust. I think he's going to be on his back for like the majority of this fight. I think Estevam should have no problem getting takedowns, no problem landing some ground and pound and winning minutes on the ground. But yeah, going to the ground with Jesus Aguilar is you got to be careful. You got to watch your neck. But I think if he does watch his neck, he should go out there and get the job done. So yeah, I like Estevam to win the fight. But I will be looking at a potential Aguilar by submission prop, because if he's winning, I think that's how he's going to win. Another thing I'll say is Estevam, he does slow down as the fight goes on, and Aguilar can get subs late. I saw him get like a 3rd round submission in one of his fights. He was beating the brakes off the dude and then jumped Gilly and got it late. So yeah, this guy Aguilar, he's dangerous, and Estevam has to be careful. But I think Estevam favorite, big. It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. But minus 350 now. Minus 350 now. But yeah, like I said, Aguilar sub I think is live. Wheezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, Jesus Aguilar actually got a guillotine choke in the 5th round against Edgar Chairez in a championship fight in UWC, where he was defending his flyweight belt there. So he's gotten one late in the 3rd round. He's gotten one late in the 5th round. He can get it any time in the fight. He's got the shortest reach in the UFC for a male fighter at 62 inches. So he makes use of the short arms by, there's no place to go once he's got you in that arm in guillotine. So that's definitely his best move, and he looks for it, whether he's on top or whether he's getting back up or whether his opponent is getting back up. So it's going to make it dangerous for Estevam to be grappling him, because Jesus is going to be looking for that guillotine every chance he gets. We got to talk about Estevam. Year and 2 month layoff. I don't think this dude's going to make weight, Brady. I don't think he's ever going to make flyweight again. This guy has had trouble with his weight cuts for his entire career. He became the Shutu flyweight champion back in like 2020, I think, and then was never able to defend the belt and had the belt stripped from him because he couldn't make weight again. Then he got a short notice call up or he got an LFA fight. He made weight. Short notice call up to the Jao Elias fight on Dana White's Contender Series. He made weight for that, but then he missed weight for the Charles Johnson fight. And then I think either before the Johnson fight or after, he botched another weight cut and had a fight called off. So if you're on the Estevam side, you really might want to wait until you see this guy weigh in and make weight, because I think he might be killing himself to make weight. He's a very big flyweight, and he's getting older. He's 27, 28 years old now. So that weight cut's just going to get harder and harder for him, and he's already having a lot of problems with it. And then Aguilar, dude, this guy was priced as an underdog against Arison Ferreira. He cashes. He was an underdog against Tyra, but obviously he didn't cash against Tyra. Underdog against Mendoza, he cashes. Underdog against Stuart Nickel, and he cashes. This guy's 3-1 under the UFC banner when he's priced as an underdog. So there's a couple of reasons right now to like Jesus Aguilar. Number one, he's got way more power on the feet than Estevam does. Number two, the guillotine choke. Number three, this guy never quits on himself, and he's always live to finish a fight because of the calf kicks, because of the big overhand right, and because of that guillotine choke, which you can get from right about anywhere. So if Estevam has another brutal weight cut, if he slows down late in this fight, if he gets sloppy shooting takedowns like he did against Charles Johnson in the 3rd round, he's not just going to get stuffed on the takedowns. Aguilar is going to get on top of him, start beating him up, and when he starts trying to get back up, he's going to give up his neck, and Aguilar is going to jump on that thing. And it doesn't matter if it's the 1st round, 2nd round, or the 3rd round. He has the chance to finish you. So Aguilar's, dude, he's a tough opponent, man. He's a very unique opponent, very difficult to train for a 5'4" guy with a 62-inch reach who actually has some power in his right hand, who actually has a pretty decent grappling game because of how dangerous his guillotine is. So this is an interesting fight, man.
Yeah, I mean, I out of all the fights we talked about thus far, I think my favorite spot is probably the Aguilar sub prop. I feel like I might take a shot on it. Can't be worse than Cody Steele by sub, right? Because Aguilar is actually gonna try to go for it. So yeah, and I would be shocked if he didn't attempt at least a couple subs. Like even against Tyara, he attempted a couple subs. Got one against Nickel, obviously. And even against Mendonce, I think he attempted a sub or two as well. So, yeah, I think he's going to attempt a couple subs. Like I said, I think he's going to lose a lot of minutes off of his back.
Yes.
He has a 36% takedown defense, and I think a lot of that has to do with he doesn't care if you take him down. He's one of those guys, like, he wants to play off his back, but he's dangerous. Like you said, he's dangerous. He's tough, great cardio. And this Estevam guy, I think he's so talented, but you're right. The guy can't make weight. The cardio is questionable, and all it takes is one mistake. One mistake and the fight's over.
Yeah. And by the way, just a side note, if you guys haven't seen the Rafael Estevam versus Joao Elias fight on Dana White's Contender Series, best worst coaching ever for Joao Elias's corner. Dude, Joao Elias goes out there and gets his ass shaved in the first round. You know, he winds up on bottom. Estevam is just landing ground and pound, and you know he just beats the hell out of him. And then he goes back to his corner, and instead of getting a minute of rest, his coach just shaves his ass verbally for like the next 60 seconds, and then sends him out there. And like he from the verbal ass shaving that he takes from his coach, where he's like, "Hey, this guy's getting a contract because you're doing everything wrong. Everything that you just did was wrong. You got to start doing it right." But he doesn't tell him what to do. He just tells him that everything you're doing is wrong and you got to make it right. So it was pretty funny, dude. The coaching between rounds 1 and 2 of the Estevam Elias fight is going to make you laugh, I promise.
Yeah, I did watch that fight, and I did see that Herzog, the beating he put on Elias was so bad that even Herzog stopped the fight. Herzog saw enough. So that's how you know it was a complete ass whooping. Because
Herzog stopped the fight between rounds to ask Joao Elias if he wanted to keep fighting. And I'm pretty sure it was because he heard the coach shaving his ass in the corner between rounds.
Well, yeah. No, it was bad, man. It was bad. What else was I going to say? Oh, so I'd be interested to see what the fight ends in sub is here. And I don't mind that because although Aguilar is really dangerous offensively, defensively, he will make mistakes. He is submission over position, and he will give up bad spots, and he actually has been subbed twice. So I think that fight ends by sub is not a bad look. Estevam does have a couple subs on his record, and I think these guys are going to grapple. All right, let's move on to the next fight. It is this fight on or off, Wheezy? Because on Google, it says it was canceled, and I didn't see it on UFC stats either.
Yeah, it's not on UFC stats, but it's still on Tapology. And if it's on Tapology and Marcel hasn't said it's off, then I think it's on. But yeah, it seems like even the books are late adding this fight. But does BetOnline have it? Because they didn't have it a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
No, they do have it. Yeah, this fight's on because BetOnline's got it right now. They've got an over-under for it.
I hope so, because I did tape it, but we'll see. Apparently, people there were some rumblings that it might be off, but hopefully it's on because it's a good fight. So yeah, we got Jared Gordon going against Caio Fernandes. We got Jared Gordon, 36 years old, 5'9" with a 68-inch reach. Caio Fernandes, 28 years old, 5'9" with a 72.5-inch reach. Caio Fernandes is going to be 8 years younger. He's going to have a 4.5-inch reach advantage. Jared Gordon is 2-1 no contest his last 5 fights, a decision win against Leonardo Santos, a decision win against Paddy Pimblett, a no contest against Bobby Green, a knockout win against Mark Madsen, and then a decision win against Nazar Haqparast. This dude Gordon's been getting robbed lately. Jeez, I thought he beat Haqparast pretty clearly, and then I thought he beat Pimblett as well, but both were L's. As far as Caio Fernandes, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, made his debut against D1 Mark Diakase, lost that fight by split decision, and then he knocked out poor Muhammad Yahya. I think this is a very intriguing fight here. Jared Gordon is a decent-sized favorite last time I checked. Yeah, okay, minus 180, so not that bad. Minus 180, Fernandes is plus 155, and I think that has to do with Fernandes having absolutely no takedown defense and questionable cardio. With that said, though, I think Fernandes is an incredible striker, has nasty kicks. I've seen him head kick guys, knock him out cold, has a ton of power on the feet. His striking is very, very good, and I worry, and I've always worried about the chin of Jared Gordon. I think for Gordon to win this fight, and he has a path, and a clear path at that, is to use that grappling, use that wrestling, which he hasn't done lately, but he has done in the past. I think it was the Moret fight. He went out there and wrestled for 3 rounds. I think in the Fishgold fight, went out there, wrestled for 3 rounds. So he does have it in his arsenal, and that's what he needs to do here. I don't think he was going to want to eat big shots from Kyle Fernandes, because Kyle Fernandes, especially early on, hits like an absolute truck and could absolutely knock out Jared Gordon, who's been knocked out 5-6 times. So it's a tough one. I think Gordon has a clear path. Will he use that path? I would hope so, but these fighters, man, lately, like the game plans have been just so awful. So I don't know. For me, it's probably a dogger pass here, but Gordon, I can see why people would like him in this matchup. The path is very clear, but I think if he strikes with Fernandes for really any amount of time, he's going to be in trouble. Even like in the Diakase fight, like Diakase was able to take down Fernandes, control him for 6-7 minutes, and that fight was a split decision because Fernandes did have some moments on the feet. He landed some really big shots, some really good shots, even attempted some submissions. Fernandes is a black belt, so yeah, I think I'm kind of leaning towards Fernandes, but I would kind of lean more towards like a finish only, because I could definitely see a Jared Gordon, a grinding-based decision. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight here?
Yeah, I mean, you see that Fernandes has 2 losses on his record, and he loses to Diakase, and he loses to Luan Sardinia, who's also a wrestler. So obviously that's the path, because this guy's got very good striking. And he's also, like you mentioned, he's got a really dangerous Brazilian jiu-jitsu game. He can get submissions as well. So, I feel like this is Gordon's minute winning against the moment winning of Fernandes, because Gordon can win the minutes on the feet because he stays so busy there. This guy's landing 7.5 distance strikes per minute spent at distance. He's got 50% accuracy while he's there, over 61% defense. The problem is that he's been knocked down twice and he only has 1 knockdown. So there's obviously a bit of a power differential in all of Jared Gordon's fights, where he's on the wrong side of that power differential, and he's on the wrong side of the durability differential as well, having been knocked out 4 times in his career. So yeah, this looks like minute winning of Gordon versus moment winning of Fernandes, and those are always very fascinating matchups. Maybe a Gordon decision only prop, maybe a Fernandes finish only prop. Those would probably be some strong ways to play this fight, because of just what you see in the statistics of how these guys win and lose fights. I mean, Jared Gordon is 11-2 to the decision in his career, and he should be 13-0.
Exactly. Yep.
13-0 to the decision in a 28-fight career. This guy's phenomenal at winning minutes, and it's because he stays busy wherever the fight goes. He uses his cardio as a weapon. He's always had great cardio, and he's always had great output, and he's smart enough to know when to use what tools. So yeah, this is for a guy that in Kaue Fernandes, who's only 28 years old and only has 11 professional fights. This is a tough matchup. He's going to have to find a way to finish Gordon. Otherwise, I think he's going to lose a decision here.
Yep, that's how I'm seeing it. Gordon decision, or Fernandes by knockout or sub. So, yep. Yeah. So I'd be looking at like the Fernandes finish only, or the Gordon decision prop, or decision only. I think Gordon should win this. Yeah, he has all the tools to win this. Fernandes is very content to lay on his back and throw up subs, and doubt he catches Gordon in a submission from his back. And also Gordon's going to have the cardio advantage as well. So, yep, I think it's very much on the table. And this is a good point, Weezy. I mean, Gordon can win this fight, and the judges could give it to Fernandes. Could be like a minute versus moment type robbery decision. We could see it.
They don't like him, dude.
Oh, no.
They don't like him at all, man. I mean, like the Pimblett fight was unanimous.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, like there were 3 people on the planet that thought that Jared Gordon lost that fight, and they were all sitting cage side with scorecards.
Was Ron McCarthy a part of that?
Yes, he was. Of course he was, because the guy could fuck up a cup of coffee, Brady. And even easier, I mean, even harder than fucking up a cup of coffee is saying that Paddy Pimblett won round 1 of that fight, which Ron McCarthy and one other judge, too. It wasn't even just Ron. The 2 judges said that Jared Gordon won round 1. No, I'm sorry. That Paddy Pimblett won round 1 when Jared Gordon kicked the shit out of him in round 1. Dropped him, fucking finished the round on top with the last 20 seconds landing ground and pound and outworked him at distance striking range. Landed about 6 clean left hooks. One of the most disgusting scorecards that I've ever seen.
Yeah. We've seen some disgusting scorecards. We've seen some disgusting things in general. Some jackass tagged us on Twitter last night with a picture. I've never seen this picture before, so I'm not sure where he got it, but it was a picture of Jessica Andrade naked in bed with a smile on her face. Just a sick photo, if I should say so myself.
Yeah, we both got piped by the bookies, and then we got to log on to Twitter and see that.
Yeah.
You know, that sometimes it just feels like it's getting harder, Brady.
Yep. Yeah, when it rains, it pours. They say when it rains, it pours.
It does. It does.
How's it going, Big B? Going all right. It's going all right. Late night stream, having fun. I missed it. Did the Chiefs win? I believe they did. I believe they kicked the Eagles' ass, right?
I think the refs ran the Eagles off the field, and then with 40 seconds left in the game, and allowed the Chiefs to run 7 consecutive plays for touchdowns.
I could see it. I could see it. We got Mr. D in the building. Should we switch to sexy Walker picks? No.
Frankenstein picks?
Oh gosh. No.
No.
What was that? What was the Paul Felder? Oh, the Paul Felder RDA scorecard had to have been the worst scorecard ever. Oh.
I remember what was it? Who won? Felder got shaved, right? But one of the judges gave it to him, and he kind of even looked away, like, what? Was that right? Yeah.
That was
even Felder was like, "What do you mean? How did you give that to me?" You know,
these judges, man. Oh, is this the jerk off that tagged us? Oh, this is the jerk off that tagged us in the pick. Did I like the pick? It wasn't as bad as the previous one. It didn't show her puss, which was nice to not have to look at that.
Yeah.
But still, it was quite disturbing.
Very.
It was. Yeah. Let's not do that, man. Let's not.
Stop, dude.
Let's not do that. You know, if you're gonna tag us in something a little less handsome, right?
Yeah.
A little less handsome than that. All right, let's move on to the next fight. It is Angela Hill going against Ketlen Souza. We got Angela Hill, 40 years old, 5'3", with a 64-inch reach. Ketlen Souza, 29 years old, 5'3", with a 63-inch reach. Ketlen Souza, 11 years younger, same height, and it's going to be Hill with a 1-inch reach advantage. Angela Hill is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. A decision win against Emily Ducote, a decision loss to Mackenzie Dern, a decision win against Denise Gomes, a submission win against Luana Pinero, and then a decision loss against Tabitha Ricci. As far as Ketlen Souza, she is 4-1 in her last 5 fights. She made her debut against Karina Silva, lost that fight by first-round submission, and then she beat Marnik Man by decision, and then she beat Yasmin Haregi by submission. So, yeah, speaking of Jessica Andrade, Ketlen Souza reminds me of a much less talented Jessica Andrade, where she wants to kind of go in there and swing her dick around in the cage. And yeah, she went out there and got a big giant upset win in her last fight. Haregi had to have been like -400, -500 in that fight, and went back and watched that fight. And Haregi was winning the fight pretty clearly. She was touching up Souza. And then I think they both kicked each other in the puss. And then after one of the puss shots, Souza lands a big shot, drops Haregi, and then submits her very opportunistically. And yeah, it was a great upset win. But I don't know. I'm not completely sold on Souza. You know, I don't think she's the best minute winner. I think she does rely on coming forward, having moments, and having moments at strawweight. I'm not sure that's the best recipe for success. And yeah, she does have some power, but Angela Hill has 31 fights never been knocked out, which is crazy considering who she's fought, because she's fought pretty much everybody. So yeah, I think this should be a good spot for Hill. The only problem is Hill's literally a 40-year-old strawweight, which we just don't really see. But it kind of seems like Hill at the latter half of her career is, looking better than ever. She's making improvements. All of a sudden, she can grapple now. She can wrestle now. She's always had that striking. So yeah, I think Hill probably wins this fight. I do think it could be competitive, but Hill should be the minute winner on the feet, landing more. And I also wouldn't be surprised if Hill was able to mix in some takedowns, some grappling, because I do think that Souza could have a potential weakness in that area. So yeah, I don't mind Hill here. The only problem is you're betting on a 40-year-old strawweight who has almost a 500 record. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Damn, I can't believe Angela Hill's 40.
Yeah.
I guess black really don't crack. And I guess it really don't, because like she doesn't look 40, number one, and second of all, like you can't crack her. Nobody's knocking out Angela Hill. So she's so tough, and she's gotten better. She just keeps getting better, in my opinion. I think she's one of these fighters that's way better at 40 than she was at 30. So
sorry, I'm sorry, Narco. I'm sorry. That's my bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, we don't owe anybody an apology. Marcel owes us an apology for those pictures. What did we do to deserve that? I mean, I know I've had 2 bad weeks back to back, but I'm a human being. I deserve better than that.
Yeah.
I mean, strong men also cry, Brady. Okay? Strong men also cry. And, things can get rough in life. And when you pile on to somebody like we got piled on last night, seeing those pictures after as many units as we lost, come on.
Yeah.
Have a heart, but Souza's 10 years younger than Angela. So that's significant. And coming off 2 good wins, Karina Silva, we can forgive her for losing to that girl. And boy, was that a vicious leg lock. You could see the knee just pop. You could see something snap in there. And she had to take some time off after that. So that's something, that knee is never going to be the same for her. So I think that left knee for Souza might be something. If I were Angela Hill, I'd be looking to kick the shit out of Souza's left leg, because it didn't look good after what Karine rearranged it when they fought. But Hill is just so much more experienced. She's fought the better brand of competition. Both of these ladies crack at range, but I don't think Hill's going to let Souza into the pocket as easily as Jauregui did. And like you said, I think Hill has the grappling upside here as well. Definitely the experience upside. And the 40 years old, it just doesn't bother me at all. Angela Hill looks a hell of a lot better fighter at 40 than she was at 34 or 33. I'll tell you that. So, yeah, I think I'm leaning towards the hillside. Still got to finish researching the fight, but there's a lot of things to like on the hillside, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. But we'll see. Hill opened up minus 300, and she's currently minus 125. Ketlen Souza opened up plus 250, currently plus 105. This is actually one of the closer line fights on the card. The over-under set at 2.5 rounds. So this is interesting. The over 2.5 is minus 550. I don't know if I'd lay minus 550 on an over in a Ketlen Souza fight. Like, she's been finishing every single one of her losses.
Yeah, and she showed some pretty nasty power the way she knocked out Jauregui. I don't think she's knocking out Angela Hill, but if she hits Hill clean like that, she might not be far away from a finish. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a minus 550 for an over 2.5 before.
No, I don't think so. And I've seen Ketlen Souza broken. She got broken by Ariana Carnelossi. Carnelossi landed a body kick, and then she also got finished by, I think, a leg kick as well.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, well, she's finished in all 4 of her losses. So yeah, that's wild, because I think what the books are saying is there's no way that Hill gets finished.
Yeah.
Hill just isn't a finisher either. I mean, she submitted Luana Pinheiro. She got a cut stoppage against Ariane Carnelossi, I remember, in the 3rd round many years ago.
I think she finished poor Hannah Cyphers.
Oh, poor Hannah Cyphers.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
Yeah. Poor girl. Wow.
Oh,
Okay. Jeez.
yeah.
But
But that's it.
and yeah, and like if she finishes Souza, it's gonna be like poor Ketlen Souza, because not only did she get her knee rearranged by Karina Silva, if Hill knocks her out, then it's gonna be poor Ketlen Souza, I think.
Yeah, we'll see, man. But yeah, I kind of do like Hill. But yeah, the line seems to be coming in on the Souza side. So I do want to look into this one a little bit more as well. So we'll see. Let's see. Team Hill, but she is 40 now. And like Weezy, I don't think the age is a major concern, because Weezy is right. You know, she was went back when she was like 35, right? I think she got submitted by like Rando Marcos in the first round. I'll never forget that.
Yep.
When was that? When the heck was that?
A long time ago, man.
Oh, 2019.
Okay, 6 years ago.
I'll never forget that. I remember being so confident in Angela Hill, and then she just gets subbed by Rando Marcos. But she's came a long way, and now she's going like 3 rounds with Verna Jandaroba. She's going 25 minutes with Mackenzie Dern. Hill came a very long way with her grappling. I was trying to brighten your night. If anything, you darkened it. The terrible photo. I will send Verna bikini photos next. Now we're talking. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Verna.
Me too.
Big fan of Verna.
She's way classier too. Just a lot classier. That's why I like her.
Yeah, very classy. Very classy. Driver saying this fight is a tricky one. Yeah, it could be. It could be. 30-25 Andrade OnlyFans. I'm so glad they shut that. You heard they shut that down because it was just a disgrace. No, I don't know why they shut it down, but it got
the Brazilian government stepped in.
You gotta shut that down. Knocked on her door. You gotta take this down. You're affecting people's lives. We've gotten complaints.
You got to cut it out. You know, like we're shutting it down.
Oh, she's looking at both.
Take short notice fights against Tatiana Suarez and Yan Xiaonan. But we're shutting down the OnlyFans.
Oh boy! All right, we got Johnny saying first. Maybe we should go live at midnight every time. We got a good crowd tonight. Good crowd hanging out. Some new guys in the chat. We had one jerk in the chat earlier. Forget what he said, but whatever
nobody's threatening to pipe you or stab you on this stream.
That was on Friday. Like I said, whatever he said, it couldn't have been worse than what was said on my Friday show or even on Twitter. Somebody told me to kill myself. So yeah. So apparently somebody wants to pipe me on site, and then somebody wants me to kill myself. So that's the internet for you. That's the internet for you. All right. Let's move on to the next fight. And oh boy, Weezy, this is my favorite fight of the card, and it's not even close. I think this fight is going to be an absolute banger. We got Connor Matthews going against Jose Delgado. We got Connor Matthews, who is 32 years old, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach. Jose Delgado is 26 years old, 5'11" with a 73-inch reach. Delgado is going to be 6 years younger, 3-inch height advantage, 2-inch reach advantage. Connor Matthews is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. He had 2 Contender Series fights. In the first fight, lost to Francis Marshall by decision, and then he beat Jair Farias by decision in his second Contender Series fight, and then he lost to Dennis Bazukia by 3rd-round knockout. As far as Jose Delgado, I believe it was a 2nd-round finish on the Contender Series, making his debut here. So I went and watched Delgado, and this guy is a very exciting fighter, and I'm looking forward to seeing him in the UFC. He kind of reminds me of a Trevor Peek, but like a skilled Trevor Peek. Like imagine Trevor Peek, but actually good and having MMA skills. Jose Delgado training out of the MMA lab. This guy has striking. This guy has wrestling, and this guy is a complete madman. He'll eat one to give one. He hits very hard. He's going to pressure the entire fight. You see it in his last 5 fights. This guy's an absolute finisher. I'm really, really looking forward to Jose Delgado. This is going to be an absolute war, an absolute car crash. And the UFC is giving him a great dance partner here because Connor Matthews is no stranger to a car crash. He's no stranger to one of these, types of fights. That Francis Marshall fight was a horrible look. He went out there and did his best Chris Moutinho impression, where Francis Marshall just beat the brakes off him for 3 rounds. I think that was one of the worst beatdowns I think I've ever seen on Contender Series. Francis Marshall just beat the brakes off of him. The fight wasn't even remotely competitive. Marshall was even taking him down here and there. The ref was, telling Matthews to fight back. The fight probably could have even been stopped. It was that bad. But yeah, Matthews is just a walking punching bag. Very, very hittable. And quite frankly, I'm just not sure what he's good at outside of being tough. I think he's a tough guy. He'll eat some shots. He'll take some punishment. But outside of being tough, I'm not sure what he's great at. He's shown some wrestling outside of Contender Series that is not translated. He's shown some power here and there that is not really translated to Contender Series or the UFC. I just think he's kind of like a really low level regional scene guy. And you look at his wins. Was Matthews the guy that beat Jay Ellis?
Yeah, he's one of the 114 guys that have beaten Jay Ellis.
Did he fight Ellis twice, or am I thinking of somebody else?
No, that's somebody else who fought Ellis twice. No, okay. I think it's only once.
Okay, but only once.
A bunch of guys with records like that.
Okay, yeah, and that's the thing. I think Matthews is kind of a can crusher. I think Delgado. I think this guy's the real deal. I'm not sure he's going to be like, some top 15 guy or nothing like that. But in terms of like, I think he's just a lot more skilled than Matthews. At the end of the day, we saw Matthews get knocked out by Dennis Bazookia. How does that happen? I don't know. So yeah, I think this is Delgado. I'm guessing he's a pretty big favorite. Yeah, minus 275. The only thing I'll say is, he is making his debut. He is a Contender Series guy, but hey, Matthews is also a Contender Series guy. So yeah, I like Delgado here, and I think I think it's going to be brutal, dude. I think it's going to be a brutal fight. Like Matthews is going to eat these shots, and I think the ref is just going to be forced to step in unless it's Herzog, and then Matthews might have to end up in the hospital, which I hope that's not the case. But yeah, I think it's Delgado, and I think he beats the crap out of Matthews.
Yeah, dude. I mean, when I watched the tape on Delgado, I was like, whoa, because the guy looks to be incredibly durable, but he spams volume, and it's takedowns and strikes. I mean, like, he's just offense, pressure until you just are like, man, fuck this, he's destroying people, and he's destroying a much better level of regional scene competition than what Matthews was fighting. When I went through Matthews' record, his first guy was 0-8, second guy Rob Filler. They call him the 1%er, and it's because he wins 1% of his fights, Brady. This guy is 2-23. Joshua Marer, 2-3, but that's the best guy that he fought. Josh Danger Marer, 2-3 record, because that guy at least has 2 wins. Jay Ellis, 110 losses on his record, and then he beat Josh Hardy, who's 1-4. So then he got his Contender Series fight against Marshall, lost that one, got a first round submission on the regional scene over Andrew Cruz. And Andrew Cruz actually just got a win over Trevin Jones in the 4th round of a title fight on the regional scene. So he's okay. The Andrew Cruz win wasn't bad. The Jair Farias win wasn't bad, but he lost to Bazookia. Fairly competitive fight up until the 3rd round. But this guy Delgado, man, I mean, I'm surprised he's not minus 500. I'm not joking. Like, when I see this kid just absolutely dick sawing this dude. I think he's going to pipe him on site, Brady. I think that's what's going to happen. I think this is going to be an on-site. This is the Stat Diggers on-site piping of the week. And I think it's going to be Delgado just piping poor Connor Matthews over and over again until the ref steps in. But Connor has gotten better since the Francis Marshall fight. So I think he needs more experience. He needs to round out his skill set. And he showed in the Cruz and the Farias fights that he's gotten better. So, he might have, I think this is going to be a really fun fight.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be extremely fun. Extremely fun. I'm looking forward to this one. Delgado open up -270, currently -275. Matthews open up +230, currently +235. I imagine they set this total at 1.5, and they did. The over 1.5 is -200. The under 1.5 is +160, and that's a trick going to just absolutely beat the. But if we get like Chris Tione in there, Chris Tione might stop the fight.
Fighters like that.
Are you from Missouri? Is that where you're? Why would you think I'm a Chiefs fan? Why would you think that? I don't understand that. Back the piping of the week. Why not? of the week on
Piping of the week.
It's gonna be on Bruna Brazil. I couldn't believe Bruna Brazil was running away in a fight she was losing. Connor Matthews, at the very least, he's gonna come forward. He's gonna take the punishment. He's actually going to try, unlike Bruna Brazil or Kevin Doucette. So yeah, I think it's gonna make for a very fun fight, car crash type fight. The ref in the Jubilee fight. Yeah, if we get the ref in the Jubilee fight, this fight's ending in 20 seconds. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was a fast stoppage, man.
Yeah, it was. I would have liked to see it continue because I had the sub props, but yeah, it wasn't the best. All right, let's move on to the next fight. This is a very interesting fight, Weezy. We've had some fun with these fighters. We got Rodolfo Vieira going against Andre Petroski. We got Vieira, 35 years old, 6 foot with a 73-inch reach. Petroski, 33 years old, 6 foot with a 73-inch reach. Petroski, 2 years younger, same height, same reach. Vieira is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. A submission loss to Anthony Hernandez, a submission win against Dustin Stoltzfus, a decision loss against Chris Curtis, a submission win against Cody Brundage, and then a submission win against Armin Petrosian. As far as Andre Petroski, 3-2 in his last 5 fights, a decision win against Gerald Mearshart, knockout loss against Michel Pereira, knockout loss against Jacob Malkoun, a decision win against Josh Fremd, and a decision win against Dylan Budka. So from a money line standpoint, I just don't think I could ever lay this much chalk on Vieira ever again after I think I still have PTSD from the Anthony Fluffy Hernandez fight. I'll never get that out of my head. But yeah, I kind of do like this matchup for Vieira in a sense that on the feet, like, it's going to be ugly. I do think Vieira's striking is actually not that terrible. I think on the feet it could be competitive, but I really worry about the durability of Andre Petroski, and that's something that absolutely has to be mentioned. We've seen him hurt in so many fights. We've seen him knocked out in the Malkoun fight with the hip. We saw him get finished in the first 30 seconds against Michel Pereira. So on the feet, like, I do think it's going to be competitive, but Vieira, he does throw with power, could even potentially get a knockout here. But in the grappling, Petroski's a black belt, right? Vieira's a black belt, right? But I think there's a big difference in that black belt. I think Vieira is a much, much, much higher level grappler. And if this fight does hit the mat, especially early on, I think it's going to favor Vieira, whether he's on top or on bottom. If this fight gets extended, though, that's where it starts to get interesting, because we have seen Vieira slow down in the past, but we've also seen Petroski slow down in the past. So this is kind of a weird fight where I think these guys both kind of are very similar fighters. I just kind of feel like Vieira is a little bit better everywhere, a little more durable, but I really don't know what to think about this one, especially when we're talking about laying -2 something on Rodolfo Vieira. I don't love that, but I think I'm going to pick Vieira. But Petroski definitely has a chance, especially if Vieira gasses out like he has in the past. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, it's a fascinating fight. I love that they made this fight because, first of all, like, after Petroski knocked himself out shooting for a takedown on Malkoun, I bet against him with Josh Fremd and Dylan Budka. I'm not joking.
You bet Dylan Budka?
No, wait, didn't I? You know what I did was I bet the finish, because I thought that Petroski would I bet the under in the Budka fight, but I actually bet the Fremd money line against Petroski. So he couldn't finish Dylan Budka. He top timed Fremd for 3 rounds. So I've been looking to fade Petroski against anybody that could keep the fight standing for 3 minutes, because if you can knock yourself out shooting for a takedown, You know, I can't bet on you, in a fight. Now, the difference in durability here, it's it's a chasm. You can't see the other side. It's like trying to look all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. You could hit Vieira in the head with a shovel and he's not going to go down. I think Chris Curtis liquefied 33% of his intestines and he fought through to the end of that fight. Andre Petroski knocked himself out shooting for a takedown. Okay. So the problem here is that Petroski, in order to stay safe, which is something he's incredibly good at doing by blending his wrestling with his Brazilian jiu-jitsu, in order to stay safe, he's going to have to probably try to wrestle and grapple Rodolfo Vieira, who's the better grappler. I mean, the guy's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu world champion at the black belt level. And he was beating black belts when he wasn't even a black belt yet. This guy, his arm triangle choke is legendary. And while this is on the feet, I mean, I think Vieira has got a really good chance of knocking him out, actually.
Yeah.
We don't really think of Vieira being a great striker, but he's improved his striking since the Fernandes fight quite a bit. And you worry about Vieira gassing out, but not against Petroski. Petroski's gas tank is just as bad as Rodolfo Vieira's. So, yeah, I like Vieira a little bit more in every area of MMA. I actually like his cardio better than Petroski's. I like his Brazilian jiu-jitsu better than Petroski's. I like his power better and his durability better. And I do think that Petroski could potentially get takedowns here, though. I think he could I think he's the better wrestler compared to Vieira. And I think Petroski is just impeccable at blending his wrestling with his BJJ to win minutes. So this is a high-level grappler against a high-level grappler. Vieira, the better submission grappler. Petroski, the better wrestler. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this plays out. And I think that they're going to have to grapple because this guy Petroski can't take a punch.
Because it would be hilarious if Vieira knocked him out, which I'm with you. I think it's live. Like, it's obviously live, right?
Yeah.
Like, even against Budka, I was like cringing every time Budka would land something. It's like, against Budka.
Dude. Yeah, I mean, dude, Andre Petroski got knocked out by Jacob Malkoun, and Jacob Malkoun got knocked out in the first round by Cody Brundage.
Oh,
you remember that?
I remember that.
Yeah, man. I mean, think about that progression of events here. I mean, what is Rodolfo Vieira going to do to Petroski if he lands a clean shot? He might knock him out. So yeah, I like Rodolfo here, but this is a great fight.
It really is. I think it's one of the more intriguing fights on the card. Vieira opened at minus 150. He's currently minus 215. Petroski opened at plus 130, currently plus 185. The over-under set at 1.5. The over 1.5, minus 205. The under 1.5 is plus 165. It should be a very interesting fight. I'm looking forward to seeing how it plays out. He was the first fighter ever finished by a Ball Cup protector. Yeah, it was one of the most bizarre finishes I think I've ever seen.
Dude, it looked like a Three Stooges skit.
It did. It was just not a good look. Not a good look. Petroski at plus money is the side. His grappling is solid enough. We'll see. I don't know if you want to test your grappling against Rodolfo Vieira. And yeah, his grappling is good. Petroski's grappling is good, but Vieira is on another level, especially fresh. Has a better haircut than Petroski. That's not really hard to do. Does he still have that leopard print haircut?
He did it like on the side for a while. Yeah, Petroski's dyed his hair a few times, so I don't know. I don't know if he's got it dyed at the moment.
This is a good point. Vieira gassed bad that one time, but it's a real issue. And what I'll say is I think he's kind of fixed that. He went and finished Dustin Stoltzfus in the third, went the full 15 against Chris Curtis. So I think he's kind of pacing himself more, fighting smarter, and improving that cardio. Because, yeah, that fluffy fight was the worst display of cardio I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I think that I don't think Rodolfo Vieira is entirely comfortable with being a mixed martial artist. I think he was a lot more comfortable competing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu than he was in sports where people are trying to punch him in the face. So Fernandes being able to outlast him on the ground, I think just completely freaked him out.
Yeah, and being in the cage with Anthony Hernandez is terrifying.
It's incredibly terrifying, and he's going to be fighting next week, my friend.
Oh, yeah, who's he fighting?
He's got the co-main event versus Brendan Allen, and it is a rematch of an LFA title fight from something like 7 or 8 years ago.
Do they have it as a 5-rounder?
3-rounder. 3-rounder. I know.
That feels like it should be like the main event.
Oh, yeah, it should. It's a way better fight than Cejudo versus Song.
Yeah, no, I think that should be the main event for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Fluffy Hernandez has got to be a main event fighter from now on.
All right, let's move on to the next fight. It is the other Bonfim, Ismael Bonfim, going against Nazim Sadykhov. We got Bonfim, 29 years old, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach. Sadykhov, 30 years old, 5'10" with a 69-inch reach. Bonfim 1 year younger, Sadykhov with a 2-inch height advantage, and Bonfim with a 2-inch reach advantage. Bonfim is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against, I think it was Terrence McKinney, won that fight by knockout. I think he had a decision win on the Contender Series prior to that. Got submitted in the first round by Benoit Saint-Denis, and then won a decision against Vince from Hell Pichel his last fight out. As far as Nazim Sadykhov, he is 4-0-1 draw in his last 5 fights. He made his debut against Evan Elder, won that fight by knockout. Also had a knockout win on the Contender Series in the 3rd round, I believe, and then he submitted Terrence McKinney in the 2nd, and then he had a draw against Slava Borshev in a fight that borderline could have been a 2nd-round knockout win had Keith Peterson not been extremely intoxicated. So, Weezy, I know you dove deep into this one, so I'll kick it to you. What do you like for this fight?
Yeah, first of all, I'm liking Nazim Sadykhov as a fighter. I watched all this guy's tape. I bet against Sadykhov in the Evan Elder fight. I bet against Vyacheslav or him again in the Borshev fight. And now I'm like this guy's biggest fan. I love what this dude brings to the cage. Nazim Sadykhov brings a lot of pressure. He's got a lot of power. He's got an absolute brick for a head. He's got that dog in him. Southpaw with great kicks, and solid enough grappling. We saw him, we saw McKinney shooting on a takedown on him in the 2nd round. He reversed it, got to top position, trapped the arm, rear naked choked him immediately. So I think Sadykhov's got an underrated ground game. The guy that we've seen Ismael Bonfim lose to at this level is Benoit Saint-Denis. And I believe that Nazim Sadykhov is a very similar fighter to Benoit Saint-Denis. They're both southpaws. They're both high output fighters. They're both plus grapplers. And they both are really, really aggressive fighters. So I was just blown away by the Sadykhov tape. And I'm a big fan of this guy now. And Bonfim is really good, dude. You know, he's lost all 4 of his professional fights by submission, but this kid turned pro at the age of 15. He had to get emancipated from his parents to take professional fights. And I mean, like, he was in Shooto and Jungle Fight back when he was like 17 years old. I think he fought Moicano when he was 20. So he's a lot more experienced than Nazim. He's fought the better brand of competition lately than Nazim has. And he's got excellent boxing, really good boxing. But when Bonfim does his best work is when he's fighting somebody that's also an orthodox fighter, because it allows him to use his jab. When Bonfim is at distance striking range, his jab is definitely his best weapon. But you see that get taken away against southpaws. I think both of these guys have a ton of power. But if I had to pick which one of these guys is more durable, I mean, neither one of them's ever been knocked out. But I think that Sadykhov would rather die in the cage than get finished. I don't think anybody's going to finish this guy. So I think Sadykhov is a lot more durable. I think he's got a lot more dog in him. I mean, we saw things get kind of bad for Ismael, and then it was just over. And you're not going to break Nazim physically or mentally. So I think Sadykhov's got a lot of attributes that I like to back in an underdog here. He's the kind of guy who can be losing minutes and then all of a sudden win the fight. Look at the Evan Elder fight. He loses the first 2 rounds of that fight. Now, it's very competitive, but when you look at the judges' scorecards from that fight, he had lost those first 2 rounds, lands a big shot in the third, opens up a massive cut over Elder's eye, gets the win, loses the first round convincingly to Borshov, loses the third round convincingly to Borshov, loses the first minute of the second round to Borshov, lands a bomb left hook, then he clips him with a head kick, and then he finishes him. The ref just didn't stop it. So Sadykhov is the kind of guy who's not the best minute winner. I think he's probably going to lose the minutes to Ismael Bonfim, but he seems to have a knack for finding the moment. And I also think that he's got some grappling upside in this matchup. So I'm actually going to pick Ismael Bonfim to win this fight by decision, but I think that Nazim Sadykhov at plus 140-ish, I mean, those are the kind of bets that I'm absolutely willing to make. I think he's almost as good of an underdog as Dante O'Mays this week, Brady.
What? Everything you said was great until the last part. You had to throw that bullshit in there.
No, dude, I'm kidding about the base part, but yeah, man, I think Sadykhov is a great underdog this week, but you got to be aware he's not defensively sound. He does absorb a lot of strikes, and Bonfim probably is going to be winning the minutes at range. But at some point, Nazim's going to land something that changes the trajectory of this fight. And I think when he does, I don't know if Bonfim's going to be able to come back from it.
Yeah, finishing all of his losses, Bonfim. Bonfim opened up minus 300, currently minus 170. Sadykhov opened up plus 250, currently plus 145. The over-under set at 2.5. The over 2.5, minus 175. The under 2.5 is plus 145. Shout out to Jay Wallace with the $10 dono saying, "Oi, Brady, Wheezy, what's up? This Zalal Cater line seems crazy to me. I'm a Youssef Zalal fan, but minus 430 against Cater. Really? You guys are awesome. Keep up the good work. Big fan of both. Appreciate you, Jay Wallace. I'm a big fan of you. Thank you for the dono." And yeah, me and Weezer were actually talking about that before the stream started. How it's a crazy line. It's a very crazy line. We'll dig more into it, but yeah, it certainly is a very disrespectful line. That's for sure.
Yeah, agreed. That's exactly what I said, Jay Wallace. I'd said to Brady, like, what the hell? I mean, I know Zalal's on fire, but minus 400 versus Cater. I mean, like, that line is saying that he's going to finish him. And I mean, like, even Aljamain Sterling couldn't finish him. And Sterling's a better grappler than Zalal, guys, you know? So, yeah, it's a very, very interesting line. And if you look, too, you can't be minus 400 at the same time as having the over 2.5 be minus 240 or something. You know, one of those doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yep. We'll talk about it very shortly. Yeah, shout out to Jay Wallace. Bonfim's legit. Yep. He's legit. And so is Sadykhov. I think these two are very well matched. Sadykhov, super live underdog here. Petroski keeps competing in BJJ comps and getting submitted. Yeah, I did see a couple sub losses on there. We got Aussie in the building saying, "Are we late today because we all lost sleep over betting Jimmy Crute fight?" I thought Jimmy performed well. You know, he was just this close to getting that KO one for us, cashing a massive ticket. I'm proud. I'm actually proud of Jimmy. Yes, I lost my inside the distance bet, but it was right there. It was right. I'm proud of Jimmy Crute. I didn't feel completely fucked like usual.
And I'll tell you something, man. The UFC's better with Jimmy Crute in it.
Yeah.
His first fight with Alonzo Menafield was incredible. That fight was awesome. And the Bellato fight was awesome. Dude, this guy's put on some really fun performances, win or lose in the UFC. And when you got guys in the 205-pound division like Praknio, like Bukowskis, you know, we need Jimmy Crute in this division.
Agreed.
But you know what? I'm sick of losing money on his fights, Brady. When is it going to stop? When am I going to stop doing it to myself, man? Hey. It's like I got a fetish for it. I'm a sick individual.
I'll tell you what, we would have won money if Prochnio would have showed up.
I know.
Oh my! Could you imagine Jimmy Crute versus Marcin Prochnio?
He would have destroyed him, man. He would have just
Goodness.
ran right through him.
Oh, I hope they rebook that fight. I hope they do. Oh, jeez. All right. Yeah, we'll get to that Cater fight shortly, but first, we need to talk about
Oh boy.
Edmen Shahbazyan going against Dylan Budka. We got Shahbazyan, 27 years old, 6'2", with a 74-inch reach. Dylan Budka, 25 years old, 6 foot, with a 75-inch reach. Dylan Budka, 2 years younger. Shahbazyan with a 2-inch height advantage, and Budka with a 1-inch reach advantage. Shahbazyan 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Knockout loss to Nazim Imavov, a knockout win against Dalcha Longambola, a knockout loss to Fluffy Hernandez, a knockout win against AJ Dobson, and then a submission win against Gerald Mearshart, or submission loss against Gerald Mearshart in the second round. As far as Dylan Budka, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Had a decision win on the Contender Series against Chad Honeycomb, which was the worst fight I've ever watched in my life. And then he got knocked out by Cesar Almeida and then lost the decision to Andre Petroski. So Edmen Shahbazyan, probably one of the more untrustworthy fighters in the UFC. But I was going back and watching his fights and looking at his past performances. And yeah, this guy came into the UFC and just looked like an absolute killer. He was sparking fools, that head kick knockout against Brad Tavares, running through guys. And then he takes a big, giant step up. They give him a main event against Derek Brunson. And yeah, he gets exposed, kind of a fraud check. And since then, he's kind of been on a little bit of a rough skid. He lost to Jack Hermanson by decision. He lost to Nazim Imavov, brutally got TKO'd, bounces back against Dalcha, loses to Anthony Hernandez, gets broken and finished in the third round, beats AJ Dobson, and then he gets broken and finished against Gerald Mearshart in a fight that he was looking really good early. And that's the problem with Edmen. Edmen will look very good early. I think in the first, if fights were 7.5 minutes long, Edmen would be an incredible fighter. If fights were 7.5 minutes long, it just seems like that 7.5 minute mark, he just falls off a cliff. There's nothing left. I question the heart, the durability, the cardio of Edmen Shahbazyan once the fight hits 7.5 minutes. And when he's winning fights, it is before that 7.5 minute mark more often than not, outside of the Dalcha fight and in the Stewart fight. But other than that, he's serving fools and he's serving them early. I don't know. Dylan Budka, you look at who Shahbazyan's lost to, right? It's Mearshart, Fluffy Hernandez, Imavov. I just don't think that Budka really falls into the category of any of those guys. Jack Hermanson, Derek Brunson. If Edmen Shahbazyan loses to Dylan Budka, he should be absolutely ashamed of himself. Dylan Budka, I think he has maybe a 20-30% finish rate. He's not dangerous. He can wrestle. He can push you against the cage, but I think early on, Edmen's going to be, physically strong enough to keep him off of him. I think he's going to keep it at distance, and I think he's going to finish Budka before the first 7.5 minutes. But yeah, if this fight gets extended with Edmen every single time, you're going to be, if this fight reaches 1.5 rounds and you laid, I'm assuming is a massive, yeah, if you laid minus 325 and it hits the over 1.5, you're going to be very concerned. But yeah, I'm going to say Edmen early on, but you just don't lay this price tag on Edmen, no matter who he's fighting, right? No matter who Edmen's fighting. I don't care if it's Dylan Budka, who I think is completely awful. You don't lay minus 300 on Edmen Shahbazyan. So yeah, I like Edmen though. I think he sparks this full. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to get Edmen a win here. And yeah, I mean, Budka's looked really rough up to this point, but 2 tough matchups. Cesar Almeida's a tough matchup. Andre Petroski's a really tough matchup because he was just outclassed in the grappling there, and there was really nothing that he could do. I mean, I thought Dylan Budka might have a chance to knock out Petroski if that fight stayed standing, but Petroski's not going to let it stay standing. And the fact that Budka couldn't get on top of Almeida and stay there, I mean, dude, that's a huge indictment. Almeida's got the worst ground game in the division. Is there an 85er that's got a worse ground game than him? I think even Prochnio might have Prochnio's a 205er. So, I mean, I don't know. You'd have to really look. You'd have to really look to find somebody at 85 that's got a shittier ground game than Cesar Almeida. And Dylan Budka still could not manage, even though he has a wrestling background, even though he's known for being a grappler who's going to go out there and win minutes on the ground. He wasn't able to keep Cesar there. So I don't think he's going to be able to keep Shahbazyan there. And I think Shahbazyan's who's been trading wins and losses, is going to find a win right here and get back on the winning track. And then they'll have to give him a tougher fight, and we'll see. Because Edmen is still only 27, and Dylan's still only 25, dude. 25 years old, It's not too bad. I mean, he could still get better. He's a tough guy. He's a big guy for the weight class. So I think Budka is getting a little bit underrated just because of the tough matchups that he's had thus far. And I think that this one could be interesting, man. I think that this one might even have a chance to go over 1.5 rounds. So I think Dylan might be able to stick to him, kind of wall and stall, and maybe get a couple of takedowns and extend this fight a little bit. But I do think Edmen's going to get the win.
Yeah, I just haven't seen anything out of Budka, even on the Contender Series. Like, that Chad Honeycomb is awful. Chad Honeycomb is awful, and that was just the worst fight I've ever seen. But yeah, if Edmen loses this, he should be absolutely ashamed of himself there. Let's see. Surely Edmen should beat Budka based on name alone. Surely Edmen can get a KO1. That's kind of where I'm leaning as well. Budka has a GOAT nickname. What is his nickname?
Oh, it's the Mindless Hulk. And he has Mindless tattooed across his back. Mindless Hulk.
I think that nickname kind of sucks. Do you like it? Do you like that nickname? The Mindless Hulk?
Yeah, I do like it.
Okay,
I do like it. Yeah, I like it. It's different. I mean, I like it because it's different. At least he didn't call himself the Pitbull.
True, but I'd prefer like slickness instead.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, I think Dylan the Pleasure Man Budka would also be very good, but I like that he went a little bit different and went unique.
Who was that one fighter that had the most unique nickname? Obi-Wan Shinobi the Pillow?
Yeah.
Who was that dude?
Oh God, it was
Obi-Wan
Kozlo.
Stephen
Kozlo?
Kozlo? Okay. What's he been up to? Probably got cut.
He might have gotten cut because I don't remember seeing him. I think maybe once or twice in the UFC.
Just once against Cameron Simon.
Huh.
And that was
it. If he got hurt or did he get cut?
Maybe he got his ass whooped so bad they just cut him. I don't know.
It wasn't a good fight for him.
Yeah, he got finished. Obi-Wan Shinobi the Pillow. One of the best nicknames I've ever heard. That's great.
It's a good one, man.
Budka struggling to get Cesar Almeida down, while other fighters with not great wrestling having success. Taking him down is a big red flag. Yeah. Budka's definitely, I'm not sure what he's doing in there myself. The thoughtful Hulk. The thoughtful Hulk.
The perceptive Hulk.
I like it.
And Tristan's right, though, because he did go to a split decision with Azamat Bakoyev. He was able to kind of stay in the wrestling exchanges against Bakoyev. That fight went 5 rounds. And Dylan, like a lot of those rounds were actually really close and kind of hard to call. It went to a split decision. So I think that's a really, if you're looking for reasons to back Budka, go watch the Bakoyev fight. It was a good look for him.
I would never put money on this guy. But hey, he's fighting Shahbazyan, and Shahbazyan just dropped the ball as a big favorite time and time again. So
yeah,
I did hit Mearshart round 2 last time, which was nice. It's always round 2, round 3. I don't think I'd be shocked if Budka finished anybody.
Yeah, me too, dude. He's not much of a finisher at this level.
Yeah. All right, co-main event time, and it is going to be Calvin Kattar going against Youssef Zalal. We got Kattar, 36 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. Zalal, 28 years old, 5'10" with a 72-inch reach. Zalal is 8 years younger. Kattar with a 1-inch height advantage, and you got the same reach there. Kattar is 1-4 in his last 5 fights, a decision loss against Max Holloway. Decision win against Giga Chikadze, a decision loss to Josh Emmett, knockout loss to Arnold Allen, and then a decision loss to Aljamain Sterling. As far as Youssef Zalal, he is 5-0 in his last 5 fights. So he actually got cut from the UFC. They brought him back, and he fought Billy Quarantillo, won that fight by second-round submission, submitted Jarno Aarons in the first round, and then submitted Jack Shore in the second round with a club and sub. When he got cut, he went out and got 3 wins, I believe, and all 3 of them came inside the distance. So, yeah, I think Zalal's finally starting to put it together. The thing about Zalal, for me, always had been this guy looked like an absolute killer, just an absolute murderer outside the UFC. You know, he's going out there, he's being aggressive, he's coming forward, he's landing big shots, he's pressuring, he's getting guys out of there, whether it's by knockout or submission, he's grappling, he's being aggressive on the mat. He had a 100% finish rate outside the UFC. And then he gets into the UFC, and it's like, you know, where's that aggressiveness? Where's that finishing ability? And I don't think he finished anybody in his first stint in the UFC. He got cut, and then he comes back. And I think the finishes, they're starting to translate. That aggressiveness, the grappling, I think everything's just starting to finally blend and come together for Youssef Zalal, and he's going to be somebody to absolutely look out for in the division nowadays. 3 sub wins in a row in the UFC. But now he's taking on Calvin Kattar. And yeah, this line, it's wild, dude. I think it's a wild line. Zalal opened up -225, which, make Zalal the favorite. Make him the favorite, but he's now -405. Calvin Kattar opened up +190. He's currently +335. And I don't know. I mean, it's -400. It's a lot. I know we just saw that Aljamain Sterling took down Kattar for 3 rounds and controlled him, but you know, that's Aljamain Sterling, a former champion, right? Is Zalal going to be able to go out there and control Kattar across 3 rounds? I'm not sure. And if he's not able to do that, you know, on the feed, is Zalal looking -400? No, he's not. So it's one of those spots where I got to pick Zalal to win the fight, but I just really struggled to lay anywhere near -400 here. But Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, it's almost like they, you know, this is the kind of line where if you're a long-term bettor, you know, you look at that Kattar line, you're very interested, right? Because you know who Calvin Kattar is, but this is where we get tricked. I think this is where some of us veteran gamblers get clipped the most, or, you know, some of these really wide lines with an older fighter who's nearing the end of their career. And because one of the things that we do the most is watch the tape, you're watching tape from before, you know, not from what's about to happen. And you don't know when they go over that cliff. You know, it happens fast. And we saw Calvin Kattar blow out his knee in the Arnold Allen fight, you know, jumping for like a knee, and then he landed awkwardly and it just blew it out. And then, you know, he gets top timed by Aljamain Sterling. And the version of Youssef Zalal that we're seeing right now is the guy's completely unrecognizable. He went 3-3-1 in the UFC. All 7 of those fights went to decision. I mean, Ilya Topuria couldn't finish him, and he couldn't get finishes against the guys that he beat. And then he goes on the regional scene and he gets some wins, and then he comes back to the UFC, gets Billy Quarantillo, who's a veteran, shaves his ass, right? Jarno Aarons goes out there, runs him into a dick saw. You know, and then Jack Shore, I mean, he goes out there and he pipes him on sight, Brady. I mean, it's not even close. He goes out there and he runs through these dudes. I caught Zalal by submission at +800 against Jack Shore. And I mean, I thought it was a mistake line. I hit it for a half unit, cashed 4 units on that play. You know, it's a big win, and the guy has just been on fire lately. So something tells me that, like, he's not just going to win this fight, but he might look -400. But we're left with a little bit of guesswork to do on what's going on the Calvin Kattar side, right? Because he's got all the earmarks of a guy who might be going over the cliff here. He injures his knee in a fight in a non-contact situation. He has to take time off. He comes back. He loses to Aljo at UFC 300, kind of gets dominated, but we could see that coming. Now he's 36 years old. He turns 37 in March. he hasn't won a fight since the Giga Chikadze fight. I don't even know what year that was, but it was a long time ago, Brady. And he's fighting a kid in Zalal who's piping dudes on sight. He's still only 28 years old right now. And he's went from being a minute winner to being like a vicious moment winner and a fight finisher. So career trajectories going in complete opposite directions right now. And I think they're trying to tempt you with a massive plus money number on Kattar. And I think Kattar might wind up looking plus 330 here. But, you know, he's got 31 professional fights and over 350 minutes of cage time. Is this when Calvin Kattar is going to pull out, you know, a vintage performance and beat a 28-year-old that's on an absolute heater? Dude, ever since this guy got with Macy Barber during his time away from the UFC, he's been absolutely unbeatable. Evidently, being with Macy Barber's plus EV.
I mean, if this is the thing is Zalal's career has just been so crazy, right? Like this guy, like some of his losses, like losing to Sean Woodson, and Woodson's decent, right? Losing to Sungwoo Choi. I think if he runs both those fights back, he destroys both of them, right? Like those losses, just looking back at him, I don't think that's the same Zalal anymore. Like I said, I think he's finally just put everything together, training at a great. Is he still at Factory X? I know Factory X had some issues.
I think he is, but a lot of those guys went not too far, and they might be coming. I don't know what's going on with the Factory X situation right now, but that's the last place that I remember him training.
Yeah, me either. But yeah, Zalal's a big favorite. So yeah, there are a couple spots that are potentially sticking out. I want to see where they have the Zalal by sub line, just because he is very slick on the ground. Like if he can get your back, he's very slick and he's aggressive. He's going to attempt submission. So, but I'm guessing the sub prop's going to be terrible.
I don't think it's going to open at plus 800 like he did against Shore.
It's going to be awful. He's a minus 400. He has 4 subs in a row. The sub prop's going to be just disgusting. So I'm probably going to stay away from this one. I think Zalal is going to win, just minus 400. It's a little bit too rich for my liking. All right. We have almost 100 likes. Appreciate y'all hanging out. And it's nice to see some new faces. We got some new faces in here. Some people that aren't usually able to watch live, but we're live at 1:26 a.m. Eastern time. We have 479 of you in here. So appreciate all you guys. Like the video, subscribe. We typically go live every Sunday at 7:15. And we'll probably keep it at that, but going late's, I don't mind going late. I think this is kind of cool, but can't do that every week. Can't do it every week. I have a kid and he wakes up too early and it just can't do it. No more pipe talk. Brady is that guy on my Friday show was tweeting. He was kind of scaring me, to be honest. He said,
I've never seen anybody threaten somebody and then put a knife emoji.
Yeah, he said like he's gonna get his goons to pipe me as well. Like it was just the most bizarre interaction I think I've ever had on YouTube, and I've had a lot of bizarre interactions, but apparently the dude wants to have sex with me, so it is what it is. All right, moving on to the main event. It is Jared Cannonier going against Gregory Rodrigues. We got Jared Cannonier, 40 years old, 5'11" with a 77-inch reach. Gregory Rodrigues, 32 years old, 6'3" with a 75-inch reach. Rodrigues 8 years younger. It's going to be Rodrigues with a 4-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. Cannonier, 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Decision loss to Israel Adesanya. Decision win against Sean Strickland. Decision win against Marvin Vettori. Knockout loss to Nazardine Imavov. And then a decision loss to Caio Bahayo. As far as Gregory Rodrigues, 4-1 in his last 5 fights. A knockout win against Chidi and Jaquani. A knockout loss against Bruno Ferreira. A knockout win against Dennis Tuoluen. A knockout win against Brad Tavares, and then a decision win against Christian Leroy Duncan. And yeah, we got a fun main event here. Another 40-year-old. I think this is the second 40-year-old on the card. Jared Cannonier, almost 41, turning 41 in I think less than 2 months there. We got Rodrigues as a minus 190 favorite. Cannonier plus 165. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this main event? Should be a banger.
Yeah, once again, proof that black don't crack. I mean, Jared Cannonier does not look 40 years old, man. Nope. He does not have the body of a 40-year-old man. And But he is starting to slow down a little bit. 2 losses in a row. Almost finished twice in a row. He got finished by Imavov. I don't know if that was necessarily a finish. Jason Herzog with the first ever early stoppage of his career.
Yeah.
And then, man, I analyzed the shit out of that Cannonier Bahayo fight, and I was like, Wheezy, I don't think Kyo's going to have any grappling success. And if this is a striking match for 25 minutes, and we've never seen Kyo pass the 3rd round, I think Jared Cannonier at plus 200 is a bet that I have to make. And I was right that he wasn't going to have grappling success, but goddamn, if Kyo didn't outstrike him, I didn't see that coming, man. I really didn't think that Jared was going to get outstruck by Kyo Bahayo, but he was. And might be an indication that, he's not going to be a top 10 middleweight anymore. The question is Gregory Rodrigues going to outstrike him now? Because we've seen Gregory be chinny before. We've seen him get slept a couple of times. Knocked out 3 different times as a professional, only once in the UFC. But both of these guys have, they've shown some weakness in the chin, and both of these guys hit very hard. Jared Cannonier has 5 UFC knockdowns. Gregory Rodrigues has 4, and we've seen Cannonier be knocked down 6 times in the UFC. I don't think that this fight is going to be grappling at all. I think that this is going to come down to who the better striker is. And before the Kyo Bahayo fight, I would have been pretty damn sure that it was going to be Cannonier. But after the Kyo Bahayo fight, I'm not entirely sure. And Gregory's 8 years younger, 4 inches taller, and he is the better grappler here. He's the better submission grappler, at least. It's probably going to come down to power and defensive responsibility. And I think the power might be on the Rodrigues side, but I think that Cannonier is the more defensively responsible fighter. I don't know, man. You know what I like? I think I like overs here.
Over 2.5 minus 140.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Cannonier in the UFC, he's had 7 fights that were scheduled for 5 rounds, Brady. 7 fights. So this guy's been a main event fighter for a long time now. 6 of those 7 fights have went over 2.5 rounds.
Yeah, I think Cannonier is really durable.
And I mean, but he almost was finished in the 5th by Kyo. He got hurt in the 4th by Nasruddin.
Yeah.
But let's face it, Kyo is probably going to be fighting for a title soon. Nasruddin is very close to fighting for a title. Is a 33-year-old Gregory Rodrigues at this point in his career going to be fighting for a title soon? Is he on those guys' level? And is Cannonier losing a step with each fight now that he's 40? Black don't crack, but he's not going to be doing this forever. So, this is a tricky one, man. It's a tricky one because even though I like the over 2.5 and the data likes it, both of these guys have been clipped a lot lately. Both of them have power. So I don't know if I feel safe with an over-under play here, but the data is certainly telling me that the over 2.5 at minus 140 would be a plus EV play based on the available statistics that we have. But this is a tricky one, man, and I really believe it's going to come down to which one of these guys is the better striker.
Yeah, that Cannonier durability could be waning a little bit, especially after getting, that Kyle fight, it looked like it was really close to being finished, really, really close to being finished.
Yes.
And then he was obviously really close to being finished. The Imavov fight probably shouldn't have been finished, right? But It was close regardless. So he's taken a lot of damage these last 2 fights, and he's been in a lot of wars as well. That Strickland fight went 25. The Vettori fight went 25. The Adesanya fight went 25. So yeah, maybe these wars are starting to catch up to the 41-year-old Cannonier. And I've always questioned Rodrigues' chin. Like if you get knocked out by Jordan Williams, we have to question your chin. And he also got knocked out by Ferreira, which Ferreira has power, but just Rodrigues is so much better than him. It's not the best look, but he's been knocked out 3 times. I don't know. I think I would have to lean with Rodrigues at this point, but I don't know, man. And I don't know if I like the over either. So this one I might be staying away, maybe looking at a prop. But Rodrigues is minus 190 and Cannonier is plus 165. Maybe I might look like an alternate under because I'd be fairly surprised if this went the distance with these two. Like I said, the waning durability of Cannonier and Rodrigues, I think he's always been kind of chinny. And Rodrigues has never been to the 4th or 5th, has he?
Never in his career, Brady. He's never even been he's been scheduled for 5 rounds twice in his career, but twice outside the UFC. It would appear that both of those fights actually ended in round 1. So this guy's never seen a 4th round in his career, and he's never seen a 5th round. But I think sometimes I don't care about that. As long as you've been scheduled for 5, at least you've trained for it before. At least you've prepared for a 5-round fight before. So the fact that he's done that before a couple of times, that's something. But you got to think that Cannonier, I think 7 out of his last 8 fights have been 5-round main events. So you're talking about a big experience advantage for Cannonier, a big strength of schedule advantage for Cannonier. He's got all the 5-round experience. So there's definitely some things to like on the Cannonier side. And if you think that Gregory Rodrigues is going to have success in the grappling, I would suggest to revisit that opinion, because Cannonier's grappling is very underrated in my opinion, as is his takedown defense. And I don't think Gregory Rodrigues is going to be able to get him down.
And Rodrigues doesn't really wrestle as much as he should.
Yeah. And I mean, and the other thing is, Brady, right? If you've never been scheduled for 5 rounds in a long time, are you going to be really willing to wrestle hard in rounds 1 or 2?
No.
It's a huge risk to take. You might get tired. And so I really believe this comes down to who's the better striker. So if you can come up with that, if you think that Cannonier is the better striker at this point in both of their careers, he's going to be big value at this number.
Yeah, it could be. Last 2 losses weren't the best looks, but they're against 2 very, very, very legitimate guys. So
yes,
definitely a step down. A lot of questions about RoboCop's chin cardio over 5 rounds, and if he can even take down Cannonier, his great takedown defense. Yep, those are all certainly questions for sure.
Agree 100%.
Jared's chin used to be, I think his chin used to be very good. But now I'm starting to have some doubts myself. I've seen the story too much, but all that removed, Jared is the better fighter. I'll never forget watching Josh Fremd KO RoboCop. Wait, did he get KO'd by Fremd too?
Yeah, because they both fought on LFA.
Was it the other way around? I forget.
You know what? You might be right. Let's look, because Rodrigues has been knocked out 3 times. Bruno Ferreira, Jordan Williams, and Bruno Lopez. The Bruno Lopez that's in the UFC now, that the guy who just beat Gagiasulov up at 205. That's the other guy to knock him out.
Yeah,
so he knocked Fremd out.
Yep, that was back in 2014, that Lopez fight. 2014.
Yeah, and he really slept Fremd. That's right.
Yeah, that was Rodrigues' MMA debut, actually. And yeah, he slept Fremd very, very brutally. Poor Josh Fremd.
Yeah, he did.
Poor Josh Fremd.
He's got a win over Cody Steele. Did you know that? Gregory Rodrigues, he's got a win over Cody Steele in a grappling match.
Oh, don't even bring that guy up. Don't even bring him up. All good. Everybody makes mistakes.
Somebody got knocked out.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm about to fall asleep. We got to wrap this up. It's getting too late for me. So yeah, Weezy, what we're gonna have to do now is we're going to have to come up with a Stat Diggers parlay. We are 2-2 on the year. Got to get back on track.
Yeah,
we got to find 2 legs here that are going to come through, that are going to cash, whether it's a total or whether it's a money line. Last week, we would have had the under in the Tafa fight. Had we known, it would have been put at minus 180. We were expecting it to be minus 160, but we didn't have that total yet. But this time, we have all the totals out. We have all the money lines. What are you thinking for your leg of the Stat Diggers parlay?
Why don't you go first? Because I think I know what you're going to say, and I don't want to take it away from you.
What do you think? What do you think I'm going to say?
Dude, come on, man. I mean, I know what you're going to say.
I don't even know what I'm going to say. Actually, yes. I know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Give me Jose Delgado. He's actually minus 230 on DraftKings right now. I think that's
an on-site piping, Brady.
Yeah, give me Jose Delgado.
Yeah, man. That's a great leg. Don't
say name. Don't say Don.
No, I'm not gonna. Yeah. I want this to hit. Yeah. So, let me look at some of these over/under lines. I don't mind an over 2.5 in the Rodrigues versus Cannonier fight. I think that might hit. As far as some of these money lines, like I don't want to parlay Shahbazyan at minus 365, even though I think he wins. God. Jose Delgado, that's going to be an on-site piping. It really is. So I want to do the over in the main event. I want to do the over 2.5 rounds in the main event. That'll put some stank on this thing.
Yeah, that'll come out to about plus 144-ish on. We don't have a total, but yeah, 235, 140 comes out to plus 144.
Plus 144. Yeah, I think that's pretty good, man. I think it's an over with pillow fist gloves because we got the old gloves back here. Yeah, so I think we'll go that over 2.5 and Jose Delgado for an on-site piping against Connor Matthews.
There we go. The on-site piping play of the week, Jose Delgado to be the first person to pipe somebody in UFC history. All right. Any final questions, comments, concerns in the chat? Jared decision only is something I expect to push, but will be. Oh yeah, decision. Yeah, Jared Gordon decision only. Yeah. I like Kyle for Fernandes, or what's his name?
Kaue
Fernandes. Finish only. I also think is solid. Thoughts in the over 2.5 in the Estevam Aguilar fight. It'll be sweaty, especially if Aguilar jumps on that gilly. You'll be sweating, but yeah, I could go over. Aguilar.
What is the line?
They've actually it was set at 2.5. They pulled it off and they put it at 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, God, man, I would be terrified to bet an over because Estevam's a good grappler, and we've seen Aguilar submitted twice in his career. And Aguilar does have real power on the feet with his overhand right. He lands nasty low leg kicks and that guillotine. So I'd rather play an under 2.5, but I don't know what the price is, so it's hard to know.
Yeah, I saw they had it like plus 150, but they pulled it and then they set it at 1.5, which.
Yeah, and it's a 1.5 for a flyweight fight, man. I mean, like. They're really trying to trap you into betting those unders, and I don't think it's a good idea in some flyweight fights to be betting under 1.5s.
Yeah. Unless it's a Daniel Da Silva Lacerda fight, then we'll think about it.
Yeah. Outside of that, or a Shannon Ross fight. Outside of that, yeah.
Or a Francisco Figueiredo fight.
Yeah. Remember what Aguilar did to poor Shannon Ross?
Oh, yeah. I was there live. I was like, I felt bad. I started to feel bad. At first, I was, celebrating, and then I started to feel really bad for the guy.
He was out before he hit the ground, and then his head hit the can. I mean, that you hate seeing that. You really do. That was a bad knockout.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. So yeah, as I saw hedge fund said earlier, Cavalcanti finishes Avila. And pads your bankroll. Don't forget, he's liking Cavalcanti by finish, and you're going to get massive numbers on them.
Money.
And I could see it like Avila has been finished before, hasn't she?
Yeah, she just got finished in her last fight. Miesha Tate beat the shit out of her and finished her in the 3rd round. So they're saying under 2.5 is plus 320. So Cavalcanti inside the distance might be like something 400, 500.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I think she's going to make it look quite easy. Does she finish her? We'll see, but yeah, I don't mind it. All right, Weezy. That's gonna do it. Let the people know where they can find you, and any final thoughts on the card. I think it's a solid card. It starts out awful, just terrible, and then it gets better, and it just slowly gets better and better and better. So I think slow start, but at the end of the night, we're gonna be like, yeah, that was a great card. Back in the Apex, which should lead to more action. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and when I cash on Dante O'May's money line this week, I'm going to look like the sharpest capper on YouTube. So that's going to be badass as well. So you can find me on my YouTube channel, Uncle Wheezy. You can find me on Patreon and Dub Club, where I have my probability stats and content package, where you see these stats on the screen, my betting models, my fight write-ups, access to my Discord and all my track bets, and 4 hours of subscriber-only content. The links are on my page, on my YouTube page for that. Check it out. And yeah, I'm looking forward to this card, making some money. A rough last 2 weeks, Brady. So we got to circle the fucking wagons. We gotta get our heads out of our fucking asses, and we gotta make some money this week. So when I see the bookies this week, it is going to be an on-site piping. Let's get it going, you guys.
And it all starts with 5 units on Dontel Mays plus 180.
No guts, no glory.
Yes. And we'll parlay Dontel Mays with Dylan Budka to get plus 900.
What? 950?
950. So Dylan Budka, Dontel Mays for all the money.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Like cheering home that parlay after Mays starches this fool Frankenstein in the first round, and then Budka's just top timing Shahbazyan in rounds 1, 2, and 3, and you're gonna be like, I told you bitches, this was easy money.
Oh boy. I'm calling the orderlies if you bet on. Yeah, okay, let's do this. Marcel, if Wheezy bets Mays and Mays loses, you got to tag him in an Andrade pick, the most gruesome Andrade pick you can find. That's Wheezy's punishment. If he bets on Mays and Mays loses, just find the most gruesome. We're talking rose in the mouth, legs spread wide open. You tag your Uncle Wheezy. Don't tag me in it. For the love of God.
Poor Brady.
For the love of God, I didn't do anything wrong. Tag Uncle Wheezy in it if Dontel Mays loses the fight. All right, everybody. Best of luck. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you for hanging out. Like, subscribe, and best of luck for UFC Vegas 102. See you guys later.